Chapter 735. It was actually a skit script. Chenguizhi held the thin manuscript in his hand and looked at the author's name under the title, completely speechless. Previously, when Lu Chen took out 2 original works, although he felt that Lu Chen was a little impetuous, he did not think it was unreasonable. After all, Lu Chen's talent in music was well known, and it was normal for him to release a song in a few days. But now, Lu Chen took out a skit script. Changing from pop music to skit, wasn't this a little too big of a leap? Chenguizhi suddenly felt his throat itch and wanted to cough a few times to express his feelings at the moment. But because of the precedent, he forced himself to endure it and continued to watch seriously. This great director was even a little unconvinced in his heart. I know that Lu Chen is very capable. I'm convinced by your 2 works, but not everyone can create a skit, especially a skit on the Spring Festival Gala. It's too exaggerated to say that it's 1 in 1,000, it's not even 1 in 100. At domestic galas, language programs mainly referred to skits, crosstalk, etc. There were also recitations, allegro, 3.5 sentences, tongue twisters, speed recitals, burlesque, and other folk art programs. Musical poetry recitations were more common, and there were also some musical sitcoms. But on the stage of the Spring Festival Gala, when people talked about language programs, it was basically crosstalk and skit. Since the beginning of the CCTV Spring Festival Gala in the early 1980s, crosstalk and skit had always been the most popular programs loved by the general public. A group of excellent crosstalk and skit performers also emerged on the stage of the Spring Festival Gala, including many classic language programs, such as the crosstalk Sales, New Year's Eve, City God's Temple, skits, Go to the Market, Tomorrow Will Be Better, etc., were still often watched by people today. However, with the improvement of the aesthetic standards of hundreds of millions of viewers, the quality of crosstalk and skit was declining year by year. Coupled with some policy reasons and economic factors, the creators of language programs generally had problems such as a lack of creativity, rigid thinking, and so on. Many crosstalk and skit relied on online jokes to make up the number. The result was that the audience was not satisfied and the reviews were very bad, which in turn affected the ratings of the Spring Festival Gala. This vicious cycle was getting worse and worse. The program selection for the 2018 Spring Festival Gala had actually started this summer. But so far, Chenguizhi had only selected 1 program for the language category. Furthermore, it was a traditional crosstalk. It wasn't that he was too picky, but that most of the crosstalk and skits that were submitted for approval had problems of one kind or another. It made Chenguizhi pinch his nose and unable to pass it. After watching so many boring skits, it was normal for Chenguizhi to lose hope in Lu Chen's script. However, he couldn't embarrass Lu Chen. After all, Lu Chen had just given him 2 excellent works. But the same situation happened again. After reading only 200 or 300 words, Chenguizhi's eyes couldn't leave the script. He couldn't help but straighten his back, his left hand unconsciously rubbing the teacup. His eyebrows were tightly furrowed, and he looked extremely serious. But the next moment, great director Chen's tensed face suddenly bloomed into a smile from the bottom of his heart. He couldn't help but laugh out loud, almost knocking over the teacup in his hand. Director Chen, the assistant sitting next to him, was startled, thinking that something had happened. Chenguizhi waved his hand to signal the other party to calm down. It's nothing. It's just that the jokes in this script are well written. He couldn't help but look up at Lu Chen, his eyes showing undisguised appreciation. He had still underestimated it. Great director Chen was quite emotional. He had seen so many skit scripts, and Lu Chen's script was definitely outstanding. If it didn't use any online jokes, it would be the most outstanding. First of all, the plot was not vulgar or kitsch, nor was it a high and mighty preaching example. The language was simple and vivid, but it was very interesting. Most importantly, it did not involve sensitive social or political topics. What was a good skit? This was the best skit. Would Lu Chen plagiarize? Chen Guizhi immediately rejected this idea. With the development of the internet and powerful search engines, plagiarists basically had nowhere to hide. It was too easy to be exposed. Of course, Lu Chen had the confidence to hand over the script to him so confidently. Instead of suspecting that he plagiarized online jokes, it was more reliable to suspect that he had a mastermind behind the scenes. Did Lu Chen need a mastermind? There was no need at all, because Lu Chen didn't need this kind of fame to support himself. He had become the most popular young artist in the country with his singing and acting. It didn't matter if he had more or less honor. The ways of the world were sinister and unpredictable. Chen Guizhi was not afraid to speculate on others with the worst of intentions, but the young man sitting in front of him was extraordinary. He was handsome, confident, sunny, and had a convincing temperament and charm. At this time, Chen Guizhi remembered that Lu Chen's movies and TV series were all written by him. There was no longer a trace of doubt in his heart. He lowered his head and continued to read the script in his hand. It took a full 15 minutes for Chen Guizhi to finish reading the entire script. During this time, he laughed a total of 5 times. Except for the first few minutes, he was smiling the whole time. This time, even his assistant was conquered by Lu Chen. This was because the assistant had accompanied Chen Guizhi to review the skit scripts more than once or twice. He had seen all kinds of disgust, and impatience with those works, but he had never seen a script that could make him so happy. After reading it, Chen Guizhi let out a long sigh of relief. He waved the manuscript in his hand and asked with a smile, "Xiao Lu, are you also planning to transfer this skit script to the Spring Festival Gala for free?" Chen Guizhi knew very well that it was impossible for Lu Chen to ask him to act in this skit. First of all, the setting was wrong. Lu Chen said freely, "Director Chen, I prepared this script for you." "For me?" Chen Guizhi was surprised, but he immediately guessed what Lu Chen was thinking. "Then tell me, what do you need my help with?" Lu Chen's things had helped him solve a big problem, and now he gave him a skit script that was qualified to be a classic. Chen Guizhi didn't think that Lu Chen wanted to be a lay fong. "Do you want to push one of your signed artists to the Spring Festival Gala?" Chen Guizhi thought that this should be Lu Chen's purpose, but Lu Chen's answer was beyond his expectation. "Director Chen, I want to invite you to direct The Smiling, Proud Wanderer." Chapter 736. The suggestion of inviting Chen Guizhi to direct The Smiling, the Proud Wanderer was first put forward by Chen Fei. First of all, Chen Guizhi had a great reputation in the domestic film industry. His movies were magnificent and they combined the essence of Chinese and Western culture. They had distinctive characteristics and were the real guarantee of the box office. Second of all, Chen Guizhi was strict and meticulous in shooting movies. He was bold and imaginative, especially the blockbuster, 3,000 Miles Through, which not only won the audience's praise, but also sold well in the box office. It was a classic work that won acclaim in box office. Therefore, if he were to direct The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer, he would definitely be able to make Lu Chen's great wuxia IP into a cornerstone, which would lay a good foundation for future IP expansion. In addition, with Chen Guizhi's reputation, The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer could also make a difference in the major domestic and foreign film festivals next year. Most importantly, through the cooperation with Chen Guizhi, Lu Chen's status in the film industry would be big. The male lead of The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer would definitely be Lu Chen himself. Although it was a good idea, it was not easy to invite this famous director. As long as he slightly revealed his intention, countless investors would come to him with boxes full of money. As for the movie scripts, he could have as many as he wanted. There was no need to worry about not having a good script. Lu Chen and Chen Fei didn't know Chen Guizhi well. If they wanted to impress him, they had to show enough sincerity and real talent. Chen Guizhi was obviously surprised by Lu Chen's request. He couldn't help but laugh, "So that's what you were thinking." Well, I have read The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer. It is a very interesting wuxia novel. Is there a chance? Lu Chen was pleasantly surprised. Director Chen, I know you're very busy with work and you definitely won't be free this year, so it doesn't matter if you shoot next year. I think you're the most suitable director for The Smiling, Proud Wanderer. Don't flatter me, Chen Guizhi smiled. Tell me, how much are you going to spend? Lu Chen said without hesitation, starting from 100 million, no upper limit. It's up to you. Starting from 100 million, no upper limit. Chen Guizhi, who had been through a lot, couldn't help but twitch his eyes. You are so bold. If a young star came to him and said such a thing, Chen Guizhi would most likely scoff at it. The cost of making a movie could be a world of difference. A movie could be made with tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars, and the same could be made with tens or billions of dollars. It would be nonsense if there was no upper limit. Although Lu Chen didn't say it with confidence, it was clear that he could make a movie with 100 million or more. Guizhi could make a movie with 100 million or more. Although it was not, it was very clear that he could make it. Chen thought and said, I will to say by Chen. Of Lu Chen, I Lu said. This Lu Chen, by Chen's Ling talking. And Chen was by. But he couldn't agree immediately. He thought about it and said, I will give you an answer in a few days. Lu Chen understood that Chen Guizhi's words were basically half done. He couldn't help but smile. Thank you, Director Chen. I will wait for your good news. Chen Guizhi shook his head, raised the manuscript in his hand and said, I should thank you. 2 original music works and an original skit script really helped him a lot. At least in the spring of 18, when he was the chief director, he had at least a good show. Both sides were very satisfied with the result of this private meeting. Needless to say, Chen Guizhi's side was definitely full of gains. It could even be said that he got an unexpected surprise. On the other hand, although Lu Chen didn't get Chen Guizhi's promise, he had established a friendly relationship with this great director, which was beneficial to himself and the future development of Chenfei Media. A just cause enjoys abundant support, and an unjust cause finds little support. This truth was applicable everywhere. In the afternoon, Lu Chen and Chenfei returned to the company's headquarters. The follow-up filming of You from the Star was very heavy. It was not easy to squeeze out today, so they couldn't waste any time. Returning to Chenfei Media, not only did he have to deal with a lot of company affairs, but Chenfei also had to record an episode of You from the Star, which was completed in the recording studio at the headquarters. When the two arrived at the recording studio, all the staff were already in place. The shed, which had cost tens of millions of yuan to build, was waiting for the queen to take the lead and make a sound at any time. Chenfei hadn't released a new song for a long time. Many of her fans complained on the blog, saying that their idol had forgotten them now that she had a boyfriend, and that she was showing off her love all day long. It was a bit too much. It was because of these complaints that Lu Chen prepared a lot of episodes for You from the Star, including the theme song. He planned to release a special soundtrack album for Chenfei after all the episodes were broadcast to appease the fans' complaints. This song was one of them. The score was written a few days ago, and he only had time to record it today. The filming of You from the Star was too busy, and Chenfei did not participate in the recording of the 2 custom-made works for Chen Guizhi for the Spring Festival Gala. It was only now that she had the chance to sing again. In the monitoring room separated from the recording studio by a thick glass, in addition to Lu Chen and the 2 sound engineers, Lu Shi and Tong Xinyao, who had just signed with Chenfei Media not long ago, were also there. The 20-year-old girl who made a name for herself through China's Voice, and was lucky enough to replace the winner of China's Voice, an Xan, and was signed by Lu Chen. She was currently undergoing strict training by the company. The scale and strength of the current Chinfei media was no longer comparable to the previous Lu Chin studio. They had hired many professional dance, music, musical instruments, body sculpting, and so on to be in charge of training the newcomers. One of the two dance teachers was even hired from Korea through SPG. Although Tong Xinyao was a pampered girl from a rich family, she was very hardworking when it came to training. In the past 2 months, she had improved greatly in all aspects, and her image and temperament were even more outstanding. The day of her official debut was not far away. Originally, she had a body sculpting class in the afternoon, but when she found out that Chinfei was going to record a song, she specially asked for the teacher's permission to come and watch. That was because she was a loyal fan of Chinfei. At that moment, Chinfei came to the recording studio. When she stood in front of the microphone and put on the monitoring headphones, the heavenly queen who once dominated the music industry had returned. Chapter 737. Can't help but transform into a stubborn fish swimming alone against the ocean current. The vow I made when I was young, silently sinking into the deep sea. Revisiting it a few times, the end is still losing you. I was sentenced to a lifetime of loneliness by love, not fighting back, not letting go, endless circles drawn by the pen, the fate that can't be filled in the heart, it's you. In the recording studio, Chinfei was singing with her eyes closed. In the monitoring room, Lu Chin was listening. This song, Silence, was an interlude song he wrote for You from the Star. It was inserted at the time when the female protagonist learned the truth and knew that the comet that reincarnated every 500 years was coming, and that the male protagonist would take a spaceship back to his home planet. The melody of Silence was simple and clean. Its biggest characteristic was that it was mellow and heartfelt. The low singing of the main song created a rich emotional characteristic, making people unconsciously fall into the sad and melancholy atmosphere created by the song. Fate and calamity were the theme of this song, and also the theme of Lu Chen's adapted version of You from the Star. Chinfei was the female protagonist in the play, so it was perfect for her to sing. And now, with the help of Woman Flower, Chinfei had completed the gorgeous transformation from the queen of sweet songs to the queen of love songs. Her singing style was more mature, and the emotions brewed in the filming of the drama could easily be integrated into the performance of Silence. In her rhythm and punctuation of the work, there was a kind of desolation and vastness of time, full of forbearance and insight. Then through the emotional rendering, a woman who had just found her true love was about to lose her lover's sadness, loneliness, and pain. Why love condemns all living beings to loneliness, can't break free, can't escape. Can't untie the knot between the eyebrows, can't untie the calamity in life, is you. Ah, lost you, ah, I lost you. Although it was only the first time singing, even the most picky listener couldn't find the flaws in the singer's emotional performance, and could directly ignore the possible problems in the technique and timbre. And the fact was that there was no problem. This could be seen from the expressions on the faces of everyone in the monitoring room. Some were solemn, some were deep in thought, some were full of admiration, and some had tears in their eyes. Everyone was deeply moved by Chinfei's Silence. Through the thick glass window, Lu Chin stared at Chinfei, who was standing in front of the microphone. There was a strong emotion surging in his heart, and he couldn't wait to pour it out. After the song was finished, there was a moment of silence in the monitoring room. Then, someone clapped first. Although Chinfei couldn't hear it, she could see it. In the recording studio, Chinfei opened her eyes. She blinked and a tear rolled down from the corner of her eye. Lu Chin smiled and made an okay gesture at her. Chinfei tilted her head and showed a bright and charming smile. Lu Chin couldn't help but feel relieved. Recently, Chinfei had been rushing to shoot scenes. According to the director Fang Hui, she was quite immersed in the role, and today's recording of Silence was a great catharsis for her emotions. It was not easy to get into the role, and it was even more difficult to control it after getting into the role. Those who could do this were all real veteran actors. In the entertainment industry, there were many artists who were too immersed in the role, lost themselves because of a certain movie or TV series, and embarked on the road of no return. Chen Feier was not an actress with a professional background. Her acting career was actually very short, but she had already shown extraordinary talent in this regard, and her progress was even faster than Lu Chen's. And her recent state was a bit worrying, so Fang Hui secretly reminded Lu Chen in private. Originally, Lu Chen had considered recording this interlude in a few days, but he couldn't resist Chen Feier's insistence. Now her smile finally made Lu Chen feel relieved. "It's done," Lu Chen said to the recorder, "there's no need to sing it a second time." "Ah." The sound recordist was stunned. "Just this once." This recorder was called Zhao Bing, an industry elite who had just been poached by Chen Fei Media not long ago. He was much better than Wang Hui in both experience and level. Today, Chen Fei Media was also a well-known new brand in the circle. Although there was no special advertising, and there was not much free time in the recording studio, Wang Hui was too busy to handle it alone. He was the one who took the initiative to ask for help. Today, Chen Feier's new song was recorded by Zhao Bing. Zhao Bing had worked in several well-known domestic studios, but it was the first time that he encountered a professional singer recording a song only once, although Chen Feier's performance was perfect. When a record company recorded a song for a singer, it was not successful after one or two recordings. It often needed to be recorded many times, and after a certain effect was achieved, it had to be reorganized, such as modifying the treble, adding some musical elements, etc. The process was quite complicated. After a few more recordings, there would be more comparisons, and the best could be selected from them. Therefore, the situation of only recording once was really rare, and Zhao Bing's thinking was a little confused. Lu Chen smiled and said, "Once is enough, thank you." Of course, Lu Chen knew the procedures of recording a song, but he was worried about Chen Feier's mood, so he insisted. Zhao Bing quickly said, "It's not troublesome, it's too easy." Teacher Chen's level is really good. He came back to his senses and thought that Lu Chen's decision was really right. The first recording was perfect, and there was no need to record it more than once. This song is also amazing. When Zhao Bing first jumped to Chen Fei Media, in addition to the temptation of high salary, it was also because of his admiration for the two heads of Chen Fei Media. Now that he heard it, it was indeed a well-deserved reputation. Lu Chen's songwriting was excellent, and Chen Feier's singing was good. The two were a perfect match. At this time, Chen Feier pushed the door of the recording studio and asked, "What's wrong? Don't you want to record?" Lu Chen said, "It's not necessary to pass in one go." Chen Feier couldn't help but roll his eyes at him. "How can that be?" Tong Xiniao jumped over and held Chen Feier's hand, saying, "Sister Feier, your singing is really, really good. I almost cried listening to it. I support Teacher Lu's opinion." Her eyes were really red just now. Chen Feier smiled and said, "You've learned to make me happy now." Although Tong Xiniao had not joined Chen Fei Media for a long time, since The Voice of China, Chen Feier had a good impression of this beautiful, well-behaved and polite girl. Now their intimacy level was even higher. Lu Shi interrupted, "I also think it's okay. Feier, Lu Chen, let's go to the office. There's something I need to discuss with you." The recording of Silence was completed, and the post-production was naturally left to Zhao Bing to complete. When they arrived at Lu Shi's office, Lu Chen asked curiously, "Sister, what's the matter?" Lu Shi's answer surprised him and Chen Feier. South Korea's KBS TV station sent an invitation to the two of them. Note, Silence, lyrics, Yin-yu/composer, Qian Lei. Chapter 738. KBS was the largest television station in South Korea and had the largest market share in South Korea. There were many countries in Southeast Asia that would broadcast KBS's programs. In terms of power, it far surpassed Chinfei Media's partner, KGS, which was ranked last among the three major television stations in South Korea. It was precisely because of this that Lu Chen and Chinfei were surprised. KBS and KGS had a strong competitive relationship. Why would they suddenly invite the two of them? KBS had once sought the broadcasting rights of You from the Star in South Korea, but was rejected by Chinfei Media and continued to cooperate with KGS. The reason was actually very simple. KGS was the most sincere partner, and the people of KBS always had a sense of arrogance, which made Lu Chen and Chinfei feel disgusted. The rejection last time was already a slap in the face. Could it be that KBS was satisfied with the slap and wanted to be abused again? Lu Shi smiled and explained to the two's confusion, it's the request of KBS's major shareholder. This major shareholder that KBS couldn't compete with was the famous Daing Group in South Korea. South Korea was a country ruled by aristocrats, and the political and economic aspects were largely controlled by the five major financial groups. The government had always spared no effort to support the financial groups, which gave them a special status in South Korea. Among the five major financial groups, the most famous and powerful was undoubtedly the Samsung Group. Its business scope covered trade, electronics, shipbuilding, construction, petrochemical, sugar, textile, chemical fiber, paper, finance, service industry, and many other fields. It had a certain amount of influence in the world. Although the Daing Group wasn't as large as the Samsung Group, it had a longer history. So far, it had a total of 58 subsidiaries and more than 100,000 employees. It was very strong in finance, international trade, machinery, media, service industry, and so on. The Daing Group was the second largest shareholder of KBS and the third largest shareholder of KGS. The reason why KBS invited Lu Chen and Chinfei to the program was because KBS had a new celebrity show host, Song Jiajin, who was pursuing one of the heirs of the Daing Group, Lu Qingxian. Lu Shi explained for several minutes before Lu Chen finally figured out the relationship. To put it simply, Lu Qingxian, who is the heir to the Daing Consortium, came forward to put pressure on KBS in order to pursue Song Jiajin and asked the latter to invite Lu Chen and Chinfei to participate in Song Jiajin's show. This program is called New Celebrity Show. The information Lu Shi had obtained through SPG was very comprehensive. It's mainly about inviting popular stars in the entertainment industry to interact with the audience, chat, sing, play games, and so on. The format of the program is not very unique, and the ratings are not high. The average is only about 3%. With an average viewership rating of 3%, it would definitely be a popular trump card in China. But in Korea, especially in KBS, it was really a little bad. It was a fringe program that wasn't worth paying attention to. Chinfei furrowed his brows and said, boring. Just reject him, Lu Chen agreed. Let's just tell KBS that we can't make time. First of all, they really didn't have any free time. Actually, he didn't like the inside story behind KBS's invitation. So the two of them were Lu Qingxian's tools to chase girls. Lu Shi frowned. If we offend the Daing Consortium. Alright, since you two have the same opinion, then I'll tell KBS that I can't make time. Offending the Daing Consortium, which had a say in the Korean media industry, was indeed not beneficial to Lu Chen and Chinfei's expansion in the Korean market. But so what? As long as they had a firm hold on the domestic market, there was no end to the money. The two of them didn't need to make things difficult for themselves. Lu Chen and Chinfei looked at each other and smiled. Lu Shi rubbed her brows and said, then that's it. Lu Chen, don't forget to go to the fan meeting tonight early. Fei, let's have dinner together. Chinfei smiled and said, okay, after dinner, let's go to the Yen Sha area. Chanel just released a new product. The two women began to discuss heatedly. The style changed so quickly that Lu Qin could only sigh helplessly and leave alone with his tail between his legs. Today, his work schedule was full. In the morning, he met with Chen Guizhi to discuss. In the afternoon, he recorded Chen Feier's new song. In the evening, there was a fan meeting organized by Whale TV for Lu Qin. The theme of this fan meeting was called Memories of the First Touching. The location was the main venue of the Meilei Cultural Center in Beijing. The starting time was 7 p.m. Whale TV had been preparing for this fan meeting for a long time. As a company headquartered in the deep sea, Whale TV specially rented an office in Beijing and sent elite personnel to make overall arrangements. The standard could be said to be extremely high. The reason why they didn't open it in the deep sea was entirely to make it convenient for Lu Qin. For today's Whale TV, Lu Qin was definitely a star sign that they couldn't lose. He was a spokesperson that they were willing to pay any price to keep. In the past few years after Lu Qin signed with Whale TV had a chance to take off again. Not only did it regain the market share that it had lost before, but it also created a new model of star live broadcasting, making a lot of money ahead of all its peers. As Lu Qin's influence in the entertainment circle grew, Whale TV had become one of the best live broadcasting platforms in the industry. In turn, it attracted more and more excellent anchors to join, forming a virtuous cycle. In fact, by now, Whale TV had little effect on Lu Qin. The time that he personally participated in the live broadcast was also very little. Most of the time, it was live broadcast arranged by the company. Leaving Whale TV wouldn't be much of a loss for him. Moreover, there were other live broadcasting platforms that offered a higher price tag, and even used shares to invite him to jump ship. However, Lu Qin declined those invitations and chose to renew his contract with Whale TV, because he didn't forget his original promise to his fans. That's why there was this Memory of the First Touched fan meeting. When Lu Qin arrived at Meilei Cultural Center, people from Whale TV were already waiting there. Manager Wu, Miss Wu, Lu Qin got out of the car and saw two acquaintances first. He smiled and greeted, "Long time no see. It's really been a long time." Wu Hongming, who was now the deputy general manager of Whale TV, and Wu Shanshan, who had just been promoted, were the two representatives that Whale TV had sent to Beijing to sign the first contract with Lu Qin. It was also Wu Shanshan who dug out Lu Qin from many anchors and gave him a pretty good contract. Chapter 739. Wu Shanshan can be regarded as Lu Qin's Bo Lu. Of course, she is a very lucky Bo Lu. Because Lu Qin's brilliance at that time was dazzling enough, as long as one has a little bit of eyesight, they would be able to see it. Her luck lies in the fact that she was the first to sign Lu Qin. And that contract has also become the most brilliant one in Wu Shanshan's career. And with this factor, she has now become a director of Whale TV's operations department. As for Wu Hongming, he also jumped a level and jumped to the top of the country's largest live broadcasting platform. So this time, both of them came to the fan meeting organized by Whale TV. After a long separation, although Lu Qin's status in the industry has reached a level that Wu Hongming and Wu Shanshan need to look up to, he is as kind and easygoing as before. His sincere smile and greetings make the two feel gratified and happy. Wu Hongming said, "Teacher Lu, let's go inside and talk." Accompanied by the people of Whale TV, Lu Qin came to the VIP reception room of the Meilei Cultural Center. Here, he first accepted an interview with a special reporter of Whale TV. When the interview ended, it was close to 7 o'clock. And at this moment, the main hall of the Meilei Cultural Center is full of seats. The carefully arranged stage is dazzling with colorful lights, and the huge LED screen shows the logo and title of Whale TV. Memories of the First Touching, Lu Qin anchors fan meeting. The main hall of the Melo Cultural Center is an indoor hall. The area is not very large and can only accommodate up to 500 audience members. And most of these audience members are the most loyal fans of Lu Qin on the live broadcasting platform. Among the total of 500 places, 300 places are given to the first 300 local tycoons/loyal fans of Lu Chen's live broadcasting platform, 100 places are given to the first 100 veteran fans of Lu Qin, and 50 places are given to all the fans through a lottery. As for the last 50 spots, they were reserved for the official representatives of Whale TV and special guests. This meant that 90% of the audience were hardcore supporters of Lu Qin. Although the number was not large, their enthusiasm was unquestionable. Light sticks were flying in the air, placards were raised high, and shouts were coming one after another. It made people feel like they were in a sea of joy and passion. When it was 7:00 in the evening, Lu Qin, who was dressed casually, appeared with a soothing and soft music accompaniment, pushing the atmosphere of the venue to its climax. Lu Qin, Lu Qin. In the beginning, the chaotic shouts quickly turned into a unified shout. The sound waves that were set off were about to break through the dome. Lu Qin, who was standing under the spotlight, smiled and waved his hand. It was as if he had cast some kind of magic, and the scene quickly became quiet. Only the light sticks and placards were still waving, and the colorful light reflected the excited faces. Whale TV's arrangement of the stage was very interesting. They placed a dark blue computer table in the center, on which there were computers, microphones, high-definition cameras, and a full set of live broadcast equipment. Of course, there was also a custom-made host chair. These devices are not decorations. They are all turned on and are broadcasting live to the entire platform. Whale TV has specially launched a new channel for this meet and greet. Hundreds of millions of viewers on the platform can watch the live video in real time, and they can also send messages and gifts. When Lu Qin appeared, in the live broadcast room of the fan meeting channel, the number of online viewers had exceeded the 5 million mark, and it was rising at an alarming rate, creating new records one after another. As for the reward gifts such as fish balls, it could no longer be described as raindrops. The speed of the system prompt was so fast that people couldn't even see it. A group of aircraft carriers passed through the screen. Ha ha ha, it's starting. Finally, I didn't miss it. I'm so happy. I envy those guys who can go to the scene. I want to go too. The people of Shanghai send a congratulatory message, wishing Lu Chen's fan meeting a complete success. The people of Beijing send a congratulatory message. The people of Deep Sea, interestingly, many Whale TV anchors stopped playing and ran directly here to watch the excitement, so that the attention of the entire platform was focused on Lu Qin alone. Only Lu Qin has such popularity and attraction. Without the host on the scene, all the light was focused on him. Lu Qin sat down in a chair. He turned his body sideways to the audience and said, "I'm very happy to meet everyone here tonight. Thank you, Whale TV, for holding this meet and greet for me and everyone. 3 years ago, like many people here, I was an ordinary member of society. At that time, I hadn't officially graduated from college, and I was working hard to make a living." Lu Chen's opening remarks were very simple and straightforward. He didn't deliberately sensationalize the atmosphere. He told his life experience to the 500 audience present, as well as the millions of fans on Whale TV. Recalling the initial touching, after 3 years, Lu Qin really had too many emotions in his heart when he recalled that period of time. Life was so wonderful. A long dream had led him on a completely different path. Sometimes, he even wondered if he was still in the dream and hadn't woken up, because everything he had now was more or less a little too unreal. He didn't say too much. Memories don't only need to be expressed with words, but also with music and singing. Picking up the rosewood guitar next to the computer desk, Lu Qin held it in his arms and said with a smile, I believe everyone recognizes this guitar. It's my most cherished instrument, because it was a birthday gift from my sister, Lu Shui. Tonight, I will still play all my songs with it, including the first song below, a song that everyone is familiar with. As his voice fell, Lu Chen plucked the strings and played the prelude. Then his clear, clean, and slightly sad singing voice sounded, flowing into everyone's ears like running water. Tomorrow, I will go far away and embark on a journey that will never return. Do you still remember the blue crystal I gave you? Your real name is engraved on it, Blue Crystal. Someone shouted the name of the song. This song, Blue Crystal, was a popular classic. The lyrics were catchy, and with a beautiful melody, it has always been in the forefront in the KTV box. It was not Lu Chen's original work, but it was the first song that Lu Chen sang on the live broadcast platform. Although the platform he first sang on at that time was not Whale TV, many veteran fans present began to know Lu Chen from this song. Chapter 740. In the main venue of the Mylay Art Center, at the fan meeting scene of Memories of the Initial Touching, when Lu Chen played and sang the song Blue Crystal that everyone was familiar with, Tao Su was sitting in the middle of the second row. His face couldn't help but show a smile, and his eyes were filled with a look of reminiscence. When Tao Su first heard Lu Chen sing this song, he was still studying at New York University in the United States. Now he has been working in a domestic portal for 2 years. The life of studying abroad was hard and boring. Tao Su spent his lonely time on the internet, so he also came into contact with the rising online live broadcast in China. At that time, Tao Su was a silver level 4 member in the Starlight show with the ID New Yorker. It was completely by chance that he clicked into a less popular live broadcast room and met Lu Chen. It was this song, Blue Crystal, that made Tao Su become a fan of Lu Chen, and he was the first person to donate. Later, he followed Lu Chen to Whale TV, until now. This time, Whale TV held Memories of the First Touching Lu Chen's fan meeting, and Tao Su was the first person to be invited. When he heard this song again, his heart was full of emotion and memories. The time when he was alone in a foreign land seemed to reappear in front of him. La la, la la la. When Lu Chen hummed the last lyric under the accompaniment of the guitar, Tao Su was the first to stand up from his seat and applaud vigorously. Under his leadership, the audience stood up in unison, and the applause, cheers, and shouts set off a new wave of climaxes, making the atmosphere in the venue reach its peak again. Lu Chen also got up and bowed to all the audience with his guitar in his arms to express his gratitude. When he sat down again, the atmosphere at the scene finally returned to calm. "Thank you everyone," Lu Chen said with a sigh. "Here, I first want to thank a friend. I don't know what his real name is, but I remember his ID very clearly, called New Yorker, because he was the first person to donate in my first live broadcast." The New Yorker. When Tao Su heard his online ID come out from Lu Chen's mouth, his face instantly flushed red, and his breathing became heavy. His ears buzzed, and he felt a surge of hot blood rushing to his head. He had never imagined that Lu Chen would actually remember him. Actually, among Lu Chen's fans, based on the number of gifts, Tao Su was probably not even in the top 1,000. There were too many rich people, but the first fan Lu Chen thanked was him. Lu Chen continued, "I don't know if my New Yorker friend is here. If he is, could you please ask him to stand up and let me meet him?" The audience could not help but look at each other. Many of them looked left and right to find the person who had received Lu Chen's special thanks, the New Yorker. Under everyone's expectations, Tao Su stood up shakily as if he was drunk. The next moment, a beam of spotlight accurately shone on him, and the cameras arranged at the scene simultaneously locked on this special fan, and then the scene was transmitted to the internet in real time, witnessed by nearly 10 million platform viewers. Tao Su's heart was trembling. Lu Chen put down the guitar in his hand, walked down from the stage, and extended his hand to him. "Thank you for your support, and it's nice to meet you." Tao Su was already dizzy, and he shook hands with Lu Qin in a daze. The surrounding fans looked at Tao Su with envy, jealous that he had such a special treatment. Tao Su did not know what he said, and when he sat down again, he was in a daze for a long time. Lu Qin had returned to the stage. "The second song I will sing, I believe everyone must be very familiar with it. It is also my first original work, You Who Sat Next to Me." Before Lu Qin said the name of the work, the fans at the scene had already shouted it for him. "You Who Sat Next to Me." In the live broadcast room of Whale TV, the number of online viewers finally broke through the 10 million mark, creating a new record since the start of the platform. Countless barrage comments were flooding the screen. "This is my favorite song. It feels like a long time has passed, I really miss it. I sang it in KTV a few days ago, and then I confessed to the goddess I secretly loved. This song, I won't get tired of listening to it 10,000 times. I can play it." On the stage, Lu Chen's eyes swept across the computer screen, and he said with a smile, "Yes, it is this song, You Who Sat Next to Me, so I hope to sing it with everyone. What do you say?" Thousands of good words instantly appeared on the screen. Lu Chen smiled. He bowed his head and strummed the strings. The sound of the guitar was like the gurgling of water, gently rippling in the venue. "Tomorrow will you remember, the diary you wrote yesterday? Tomorrow will you still remember? Once, the teachers can't remember, you can't guess the problem. I also accidentally flipped through the photos. This song, You Who Sat Next to Me, like all those classic works, has become the most profound imprint on Lu Qin. When people mention his name, the first thing they think of is this song. Time flies, You Who Sat Next to Me has not been forgotten with the passage of time, but more and more exudes a warm and charming flavor, making people recall it for a long time. It has also become one of the most commonly covered songs in countless school cultural performances or evening performances. It's just that as Lu Qin created new songs one after another, the number of times he sang, You Who Sat Next to Me, became less and less. Similarly, it was difficult for people to see him personally hosting the live broadcast. Only tonight, Lu Qin once again sat in front of the microphone and camera, facing the computer, and singing this song, You Who Sat Next to Me, in front of thousands of fans who like him. Let everyone reminisce about the past, those first touching moments. Who met the sentimental you? Who comforted the crying you? Who read the letter I wrote to you? The fans at the scene, including many fans sitting in front of the computer or holding the mobile phone to watch the live broadcast, sang this song with Lu Qin. Many people's eyes were red and tears flowed down. They were not only singing You Who Sat Next to Me, but also the lost years of youth. There were no dazzling and blurred lighting effects, no wonderful and rich band accompaniment, and even the big LED screen no longer displayed any pictures. There was only a beam of light shining on Lu Qin, who was playing and singing. There was also the chorus of singing that converged together. Even after many, many years, many people present still firmly remember the scene at this moment. People and songs are still imprinted in the depths of their souls, becoming an indelible memory. Chapter 741. Whale TV, Memories of the First Touching. Lu Chen's fan meeting started at 7 p.m. and came to an end at 9:35 p.m. In these 2.5 hours, Lu Chen, with a guitar, brought the 500 audience at the scene and tens of millions of fans in the Whale TV live broadcast room to relive the good memories of the past. Your desk mate, the brother who slept on my upper bunk, Love in the Wind, Cinderella, Those Flowers, The Brightest Star in the Night Sky, Long Time No See, The Story of Time, the works that fans were familiar with, folk songs and love songs, made this fan meet and greet shrouded in an atmosphere of nostalgia and passion. It also made countless fans laugh and feel touched. Lu Qin hasn't sung like this for a long time. Although there are interactive programs with fans between the singing, his voice is a little hoarse after so much singing. The fans are simply distressed, and a lot of barrage expressing concern appeared in the live broadcast room. It's already 15 songs. Lu Chen's big voice is almost hoarse. Don't sing anymore. Talk more. Well, playing games is okay. We all support it. Yes, don't sing anymore. It's most important to protect your vocal cords. Damn, are all those people at the scene pigs? Why are they still cheering? Don't they know how to care about my chin? I feel sorry for my chin. Generally speaking, when a professional singer holds a solo concert, the songs they sing are around 20, and up to 25. In contrast, Lu Chen singing 15 songs is not much. But for this level of fan meeting, 15 songs is really a lot. And if it's a concert, professional singers will take care of their voices in advance, and then make careful arrangements for the program, as well as backstage tuning, etc., to reduce pressure as much as possible. And Lu Chen played and sang by himself. Every song was of the standard that it should be. It took a lot of effort, and the effort he put in was no less than that of a concert. Up to now, his forehead has been dripping with sweat. Fans are tolerant, sensitive and harsh. They can tolerate the mistakes made by their idol accidentally, but they are exceptionally sensitive to whether their favorite singer is singing seriously or not. Lu Chen's performance was impeccable. The cries from the internet quickly affected the scene. The cheers and shouts decreased a lot. Everyone even started to quiet down. Lu Chen saw the bullet screen full of comments and felt the atmosphere of the scene. He smiled and said, "Well, I just saw a fan say that she wanted to take a taxi to give me some throat-soothing tea. I'll thank this friend here first. You really don't have to go through so much trouble. I'll sing one more song, the last one. Sing a new song, this song is for everyone. Let's reminisce about the first moments when we were touched, as well as the fading years of youth." As soon as Lu Chen's voice fell, the audience immediately burst into a thunderous applause, like a storm. Lu Chen lowered his head with a smile and plucked the strings again. Flowers drifting with snow and the wind, it sprouted in his memory. Those red and green colors are our youth. His ambition was boundless. In the blink of an eye, they had gone their separate ways. Walking alone on the street, he only saw the sunset glow of the past. The name of this song was The Passing Years, which was specially written by Lu Chen for this fan meeting. The simple guitar accompaniment was still the nostalgic folk song style that all fans were most familiar with. With the sadness and remembrance of the lost youth, the melody entangled the hearts of the listeners like silk threads. Since You Who Sat Next to Me, Lu Chen created the campus folk song style and also brought the waves of nostalgic folk songs. Thus, he left his indelible mark in the Chinese pop music world. Many singers and songwriters imitated his style and created a lot of good folk songs. But in the hearts of fans, no one could replace Lu Chen, nor could they imitate the essence of his works. Perhaps now, the number of Lu Chen's fans and passers-by has exceeded his fans big, but his fans have always been his most loyal supporters and have never wavered. Tonight's special fan meeting was very satisfying for Lu Chen's fans, because they followed Lu Chen to review the classics, especially those folk songs. The only regret was that they didn't hear Lu Chen's new song. Unexpectedly, in the end, Lu Chen still made up for this regret and dedicated a new work to everyone. Time is like flowing water, urging us to grow up. Young hearts have white hair. The people of the past, where are you now? Are you also looking for the home of your dreams? The Passing Years didn't make any breakthrough in melody style, but for fans, this song was more like a summary of all the previous works, once again washing their hearts. In the main hall of the Meilu Art Center, it was extremely quiet, and everyone listened quietly. In the Whale TV live broadcast room, the barrage became very sparse, and even those local tyrants who were frantically giving gifts let go of the mouse in their hands and listened to the music that moved them. Recalling the initial touching After the end of the fan meeting, Whale TV announced the data of the live broadcast on its homepage. The highest number of people online in the live broadcast room was 13750,748, breaking the record of all live broadcast platforms and creating an unprecedented miracle. In addition, in less than 3 hours, the amount of gifts and the amount of gifts converted totaled to 278.93, 527 yuan and 3 cents, which was another terrible record. Among them, the number one fan gave a gift worth 1,880,000 yuan. This inevitably caused a sensation and a wave of public opinion. Whale TV officials and Lu Chen had already issued a public statement long before the fan meeting was held that all the gifts would be donated to the Qin Fei Charity Fund to help sick children who couldn't get timely treatment because of poverty. Because it was a full donation, Whale TV not only bore the expenses of the event, but also paid a high operating fee. In terms of direct benefits alone, they lost millions. Of course, what Whale TV has gained are invisible benefits and long-term potential influence. But no matter what, although the amount of gifts in the live broadcast was very astonishing, the media's reaction was not strange or sour, but more of amazement and praise. As for Lu Chen's fans, it was even more favorable. There were many stars in the entertainment industry, but people like Lu Chen who invested money earned again and again into charity, really not much. He never let his fans down, nor did he fail to live up to everyone's expectations. Note: lyrics/composer of The Passing Years, Xia Xiaohu. Chapter 742. Autumn passed and winter came. In the blink of an eye, it was already early winter, and people living in Beijing began to feel the chill of winter. Entering late November, the shooting of You from the Star was nearing the end. After returning from the United States, Lu Chen and Qin Fei devoted most of their time to the shooting of this TV series. Coupled with the tacit cooperation of the crew, everyone worked together, and the later it got smoother and smoother, so it was basically finished by the end of the month. The average audience rating of You from the Star, which was broadcast simultaneously on Beijing television and Zhejiang satellite TV, has been maintained between 7% and 8%, and the highest audience rating once exceeded 10%, becoming a phenomenal show among phenomenal shows. If you randomly search You from the Star on the internet, you can find at least hundreds of millions of related information. The number of fans in the official Tieba exceeded 10 million. The main actors in the play, apart from the two protagonists, became very popular. For example, Tang Xinyao, who signed with Qin Fei Media not long ago, played a supporting female role in the play, and her popularity has been close to that of the popular newcomers, which also made her new album, which was to be released at the end of the year, become popular. You from the Star has set a new high in the ratings in South Korea, breaking through the highest ratings boundary of national drama and becoming the first imported drama to reach 50% in South Korea. Similarly, the two South Korean actors in the play have become South Korean A-list artists in one fell swoop, which can be described as soaring. In addition, major TV stations in many countries, including Japan, have been interested in introducing You from the Star, which has also gradually expanded the influence of You from the Star in Southeast Asia. For Lu Chen, there are still many major events that happened in November. First of all, the online crowdfunding has passed the review of the relevant agencies in the United States and reached an issuance agreement with two bank securities companies, which will be officially listed on NASDAQ on December 1st. In fact, after a CISA negotiation, Qin Fei Media and Blue Sky Digital also reached a cooperation agreement. Qin Fei Media acquired 75% of Blue Sky Digital Studios shares for $55 million, becoming the latter's second largest shareholder. After Qin Fei Media invested in Blue Sky Digital, the two sides will carry out all-round cooperation in film and television special effects, and the last shortcoming of Qin Fei Media in the field of film and television production will be made up. Finally, both Lu Chen and Chen Fei would attend the 50th anniversary celebration party that would be held at the Xiangjiang Century Square on November 29. On November 29, 1967, Hong Kong, which had been forcibly occupied by the United Kingdom for 100 years, returned to the motherland smoothly. In the past 50 years, Hong Kong, as a special administrative region of China, had undergone profound changes in politics, economy, and culture. It was thriving and prosperous, and had become a first-class international metropolis in Asia. As it was the 50th anniversary of returning to China, the Hong Kong government held a series of celebration activities, which had started in October, and this celebration party was undoubtedly the most important one. In addition to Hong Kong stars, many singers and actors from the mainland were also invited to the gala, including Lu Chen, Chen Fei, Liao Jia, and so on. On November 25, Lu Chen and Chen Fei flew to Hong Kong. The two of them came over quietly, so they didn't alert the well-connected media. It was Shi Fang who came to the airport to pick them up. Sister Fang. When he saw Shi Fang again, Chen Fei hugged her tightly. The experience of working together on The Voice of China had established an excellent friendship between them, and they were as passionate as sisters who had reunited after a long separation. Shi Fang was very low-key. She only brought an assistant to pick them up, and then they went to her house in Banshan. Shi Fang's Banshan Villa was very famous in Hong Kong. Its original owner was Su Jinyang, a famous real estate tycoon in Hong Kong. He spent hundreds of millions of Hong Kong dollars to build it in the early 1990s. However, the international financial crisis in the late 1990s caused the stock market and property market of Hong Kong to plummet. Su Jinyang's real estate company had a cash flow problem, so he had no choice but to sell the villa for 150 million. In the end, when no one wanted to buy it, Shi Fang brazenly took out all her savings and borrowed from a friend, and bought it for 130 million. At that time, many people thought that Shi Fang was simply crazy, but reality proved that she had foresight. This Banshan villa was worth at least 1 billion, and it was a real estate that could be passed down for generations. There was once a Xiangjiang tycoon who offered 1 billion to buy this villa from Shi Fang, but was rejected by her. Lu Chen had also heard of this villa for a long time, and today was a real eye-opener. This villa was an independent 3-story building with an area of more than 1,000 square meters, and it had a large garden of more than 2,000 square meters, woods, grass, swimming pool, fountain, and so on. It also had a panoramic view of Victoria Harbour. Shi Fang was still unmarried, so this villa was completely owned by her. She often held parties here, and the guests were all Xiangjiang celebrities or big shots in the circle. Chen Fei fell in love with it at first sight. She sat on a comfortable chair, bathed in the warm but not scorching sunlight, tasted the freshly brewed Indian black tea, and looked down at the magnificent scenery of Victoria in the distance. The tiredness of the long-distance flight was swept away. She let out a long sigh of satisfaction, narrowed her eyes and said to Shi Fang, "Sister Fang, this house of yours is really too good. I want to stay here and not leave." Shi Fang chuckled and said, "You can stay as long as you want. Anyway, I have a lot of rooms here." Those who were familiar with Shi Fang knew that there were many people who could enter and leave her villa, but there were absolutely few who could live in it for a long time. All of them were the real friends of the Queen of Xiangjiang. Chen Fei glared at Lu Chen bitterly and said, "It's a pity that I can only stay in Xiangjiang for a few days. After the TV series, I have to shoot a movie. I'm busy all day." Lu Chen smiled bitterly and rubbed his nose, speechless. After shooting Xingyu, Chen Fei Media would immediately start shooting The Smiling, Proud Wanderer. They definitely couldn't make it in time for the spring festival, but they couldn't miss the summer vacation. Time was also quite tight. And for this martial arts movie, in order to ensure the box office results in effect, Lu Chen would play Ling Huchong, and Chen Fei would play Ren Yingying, and they were going to shoot 2 movies in a row, so everyone was busy. Shifeng smiled and said, "You are still young. Of course, you should focus on your career. You can ask Lu Qin to buy a house here for you. How nice it is for us to be neighbors." "Yes." Chen Fei's eyes suddenly lit up. "That's a good idea, but there are no villas for sale here, right? There would basically be no new mansions in the middle of the mountain. If they wanted to buy one, they could only take it from others. There were basically no villas for sale on the market, and they couldn't be bought easily with money." Shifeng said, "I can help you keep an eye out." As the two chatted, they began to talk about the house, leaving the business at the back of their heads. Fortunately, another important guest rushed over. The guest was also one of Lu Chen's few friends in the circle in Xiangjiang, Lu Gangxing. Chapter 743. Brother Sheng. Seeing Lu Gangxing, Lu Chen and Chen Fei stood up and greeted him together. Lu Gangxing laughed and opened his arms to give Lu Chen a strong hug. Long time no see. They hadn't seen each other for a long time. The last time they met was at the Hong Kong premiere of A Chinese Ghost Story, but they had been in touch with each other and their friendship was even deeper. Lu Gangxing's appreciation for Lu Chen was really known by everyone in Hong Kong. Not long ago, Lu Chen had an accident in the United States. Lu Gangxing called him as soon as he knew the news and asked his friend in the United States to take care of him. Although he didn't help much in the end, Lu Chen remembered this favor. Lu Gangxing didn't come alone today. There was a gentle and beautiful woman beside him. "This is my wife, Lu Jingyi." Lu Gangxing took the initiative to introduce to Lu Chen and Chen Fei. "She heard that you two are here. She also wants to meet the male and female leads of Autumn in My Heart." Lu Chen was a little surprised and quickly said politely, "Hello, sister-in-law. It's the first time we meet. Please take care of me." Lu Gangxing's wife was a legendary figure in the circle. Lu Chen knew her, but it was the first time he saw her in person. Lu Jingyi was the runner-up of Miss Hong Kong in 1995. Her father was a lawyer in Xiangjiang and her mother was a doctor. Her family conditions were excellent, but she chose to enter the entertainment industry after graduating from college. After winning the runner-up of Miss Hong Kong, she quickly signed a contract with a management company and released her first solo album. Then she shot many movies and TV series in succession. Her career as a star could be said to be smooth. However, just as she became popular, she suddenly quit the entertainment industry and disappeared from the sight of her fans. There was very little news about her in the media. In fact, the reason why this beautiful and intelligent Miss Hong Kong quit the entertainment industry was that she met and fell in love with Lu Gangxing during a cooperation, and resolutely retired behind the scenes. Due to some special reasons, Lu Gangxing had never officially announced Lu Jingyi's identity. However, the two of them had been together for 20 years. Lu Jingyi supported Lu Gangxing wholeheartedly, and the latter gave his wife the greatest protection. Now that Lu Gangxing was getting older, he was also slowly revealing his family situation to the public. Everyone believed that this imitating couple in the entertainment industry would eventually stand in front of everyone openly. Lu Chen had read stories about Lu Jingyi on the internet. He knew that she had raised a son and a daughter for Lu Gangxing. Although she was unknown, she was willing to endure hardship. She was truly an admirable woman. "Hello, Lu Chen, nice to meet you. You're even more handsome than on TV." Lu Jingyi smiled. Lu Gangxing was jealous. "He's not as handsome as me." Everyone couldn't help but laugh, and the atmosphere was very harmonious. After laughing, Lu Jingyi's gaze fell on Chen Fei. She held Chen Fei's hand and exclaimed, "Miss Chen is really beautiful. Well, you're even more beautiful in real life than on TV." Chen Fei smiled and said, "Sister Jingyi, you flatter me. I think you're really beautiful." Lu Jingyi shook her head. I'm old. Although they were more than 10 years apart and it was the first time they met, Lu Jingyi and Qin Fei felt like old friends at first sight. After sitting down, they chatted intimately. Together with Shifang, the topics between the three women were almost endless. Lu Jingyi was actually a fan of Lu Qin and Qin Fei. Not only had she watched the movie A Chinese Ghost Story starring the two, but she also watched the two TV series, Autumn in My Heart and Full House of Romance. She was also watching You from the Star. Although Mrs. Lu was in her 40s this year, she was no different from an ordinary fan when it came to talking about TV series. Meanwhile, Lu Gangxing pulled Lu Qin aside and told him about the Xiangjiang New Voice that had been in preparation for more than half a year. Xiangjiang New Voice was a singing talent show conceived by Lu Qin and many people in the Xiangjiang circle, including Lu Gangxing, when he was developing in Xiangjiang last year. The aim was to encourage and support Xiangjiang's local original music so that Cantonese songs could regain their glory. The show was proposed by Madame Jean, and the name was thought up by Lu Qin, but the real promoter was Lu Gangxing. It was precisely because of his active participation that ATV and Xiangjiang Satellite TV were competing for the production and broadcasting rights of the show. After a fierce competition, Xiangjiang Satellite TV had the last laugh. The higher-ups of the satellite TV attached great importance to the talent show. They came up with 3 program plans and did a lot of market research. Everything was basically ready now, except for the final push. Originally, Xiangjiang New Voice was planning to start the auditions in September. However, the appearance of The Voice of China and its huge influence made the satellite TV revise their plans. Lu Gangxing said frankly to Lu Qin, "Your The Voice of China is too outstanding. The people at the satellite TV are very stressed. My goal is to make Xiangjiang New Voice the most influential music show in the history of Xiangjiang." They have revised the program plan at least a dozen times. As he said that, Lu Gangxing laughed, "So, you must participate in this show." Lu Qin readily agreed, "No problem." He was so straightforward that Lu Gangxing felt a little embarrassed. "You don't have to agree so quickly. Let's talk about when you have a schedule first. Will it be available in March or April next year?" As a Xiangjiang Heavenly King, Lu Gangxing knew very well that with Lu Chen's current popularity in the country, his schedule would definitely be full. Under normal circumstances, not to mention this year, it would be normal for him to have a full schedule next year. He really hoped that Lu Chen would join, but he would definitely not disrupt Lu Chen's work plans. Lu Chen thought about it and replied, "It should be fine in April. I'll confirm the time when I go back." You from the Star was coming to an end. Next, he would be filming The Smiling, Proud Wanderer. It would definitely be finished by April next year. Otherwise, even if it was post-production, it would not be able to make it in time for the summer. Lu Gangxing was very happy. "That's really great. Xiangjiang is really lacking in original music now. I hope that through this show, those outstanding talents can stand out." Lu Qin nodded. Seeing the Heavenly King's happy look, he was quite touched. At Lu Gangxing's level, fame and fortune were fleeting. What he really had was the passion and sincerity for his career. He was willing to do his best to repay society and the industry. This true love was worth learning from for Lu Qin. Chapter 744. Lu Gangxing was a senior in the entertainment circle, and Lu Qin was a rising star. Their appreciation and respect for each other made them real friends, and the cooperation between friends was always pleasant and satisfying. Lu Qin agreed to be a judge of Hong Kong New Voice, and he would write a promotional theme song for this music talent show. He specially made time for the show in April and May of next year. In return, Lu Gangxing volunteered to play a role in The Smiling, the Proud Swordsman, which would be filmed at the end of the year. Because of the success model of A Chinese Ghost Story, which had a box office of more than 1 billion yuan, after Qinfei Media revealed that it would adapt the film of the smiling, proud wanderer. There were countless entertainment agencies and artists who came to seek cooperation. It was not easy for other artists to get a role in the smiling, the proud swordsman, even if they owed a favor. But for Lu Gangxing, asking for a role was like giving a favor to others. With the participation of this famous king in the Chinese circle, the smiling, the proud swordsman would not only have a strong box office in China and Hong Kong, but also in the whole Southeast Asia. I hope there will be enough fighting scenes for this role. Lu Gangxing excitedly made a few gestures with his fists. It is what foreigners call Chinese kung fu. I think you will put real kung fu into this movie, right? The term Chinese kung fu was coined by Lu Qin. Together with his fighting video in the UD 725 incident, it had already spread all over the world, including Hong Kong. In fact, Hong Kong had also made martial arts fighting movies in the 70s and 80s, but it was not popular, and was later replaced by Hollywood action movies. However, there was a market for traditional martial arts in Hong Kong. As early as a few decades ago, there were many martial arts clubs in Hong Kong. They taught their apprentices martial arts such as Southern Fist and Northern Leg, knife, spear, sword, rod, and so on. But now, these martial arts clubs were basically replaced by taekwondo, judo, boxing, and kickboxing clubs. Traditional kung fu was no longer popular among young people because it was called fancy but not practical. The same situation happened in the mainland. On the other hand, the Chinese kung fu that Lu Qin had demonstrated to the world made everyone's eyes light up. Not only was it extremely powerful in actual combat, but its movements were also swift and fierce, and it had a powerful sense of violence. Lu Gangxing could see the role that China kung fu could play in the movie at first glance. He believed that Lu Qin would definitely bring China kung fu into the movie when he made the smiling, the proud wanderer. In fact, the embryonic form of kung fu could already be seen in a Chinese ghost story, but it was covered up by the more exciting supernatural stories and special magic effects. The smiling, proud wanderer was a pure wuxia movie. Lu Gangxing didn't just want to show his face in the smiling, proud wanderer. He wanted to take this opportunity to explore new ways of acting and create a different image. Yes, Lu Qin instantly understood Lu Gangxing's thoughts and intentions. His eyes couldn't help but light up. Brother Xing, there are many roles you can choose from. However, I'm afraid you'll need to undergo a period of training. Wuxia kung fu movies couldn't be made just because one wanted to. Even if one wanted to use a martial arts substitute, one must first master some basic routines. Otherwise, the movie would be very problematic. Lu Gangxing smiled. That's not a problem. I usually exercise, so I'm not afraid of hardships. Practicing martial arts was very tiring and torturous, especially if one wanted to master real skills. It was obviously impossible without hard work. Lu Gangxing undoubtedly wanted to challenge himself. Although he was already over 50 years old. The more they talked, the more the topic gradually shifted to the smiling, proud wanderer. This movie, which was adapted from a best-selling wuxia novel, was undoubtedly a huge challenge for Lu Qin, because he didn't want to shoot it according to the movie of the same name in his memory. Instead, he wanted to rewrite the script and make a real wuxia blockbuster. At that time, Lu Qin would be the leading actor, the screenwriter, the composer, and the action director. Any mistake in any aspect would affect the shooting of the movie. Interestingly, Lu Gangxing had actually read The Smiling, Proud Wanderer and was very familiar with the characters in it. He was completely prepared. Lu Qin couldn't help asking, Brother Xing, if you had a choice, which one would you choose? Originally, Lu Qin wanted to write the script and give it to Lu Gangxing for him to choose the roles. Now that he knew that Lu Gangxing had read the original novel, he simply brought it up. Lu Gangxing thought for a moment and answered, Lu Jingfeng and Xiang Wendian. Lu Jingfeng and Xiang Wendian. Lu Qin silently chewed on these two names, and a faint idea formed in his heart. What are you two talking about? At this time, Lu Jingyi and Qin Fei came hand in hand. They were smiling like a pair of beautiful sisters. Lu Gangxing and Lu Qin looked at each other and smiled. Lu Qin said, I'm talking about the movie with Brother Sheng. Where are we going for lunch? Qin Fei smiled and said, Sister Shifang will cook for lunch, and Sister Jingyi will also make a few dishes. I'll go and help. You two can continue talking. I'll call you when we're at the table. Lu Gangxing clapped his hands and said, I haven't eaten Linda's dishes for a long time. I'm so lucky today. Linda was Shifang's English name. Shifang's cooking skills had been passed down in her family. She had even appeared on TV before. However, except for her best friends, it was extremely difficult for others to taste her cooking. Lu Gangxing said to Lu Qin, You're really lucky. More than an hour later, Lu Qin also thought that he was really lucky. He didn't expect Shifang's cooking skills to be so excellent. Although she couldn't be compared with those top chefs, the dishes she carefully cooked looked, smelled, and the ingredients were even more exquisite. He couldn't stop praising her. Shifang also took a bottle of 1993 Mouton wine from the wine cellar and shared it with everyone. The guests and the host all enjoyed the lunch. In the afternoon, they sat in the garden and continued to chat, but the topic turned to the upcoming 50th anniversary celebration party of Hong Kong's return. Lu Qin and Qin Fei's performance had already been reported. It was a song that Lu Qin had specially written for this grand celebration, and it was sung by a group. In addition to the two of them, Lu Gangxing and Shifang were also on the list of singers of the same song. The standard was probably unprecedented. It was also because of this song that the four of them gathered together today. There would be a dress rehearsal for the party tomorrow, and they didn't have much time left. Because there were still things to deal with, Lu Qin and Qin Fei didn't stay for dinner. Shifang asked her assistant to drive them back to their home in Repulse Bay. Chapter 745. On the second day after they arrived in Hong Kong, Lu Qin and Qin Fei participated in the rehearsal for the 50th anniversary of Hong Kong's return to the motherland. Although this was their first rehearsal, it was a rehearsal with makeup on, so other than the fact that there was no real audience, everything else was basically no different from a formal performance. Hong Kong's Century Square was located in the central district of Hong Kong Island, adjacent to Hong Kong's high-speed railway station. It was backed by the famous Central Building and faced the Victoria Harbour. It covered an area of more than 200,000 square meters. It was built by the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region government to celebrate the 30th anniversary of Hong Kong's return to the motherland and welcome the arrival of the new century. Since the Century Square was built, the annual return celebration was held here. The activities included a parade of floats, a celebration party, and a fireworks show. The celebration was also broadcasted to the world. For more than 10 million people in Hong Kong, the Day of Return on November 29th was the second most important festival after the Spring Festival. The Special Administrative Region government even included the Day of Return as a legal holiday. Due to the Homecoming Day celebration being grand and spectacular every year, a large number of tourists from all over the world would pour into Xiangjiang to witness the grand occasion at this time every year. Under normal circumstances, the celebration party on the 29th night would have more than 100,000 audience. Coupled with the live broadcast, the influence was probably second only to the Spring Festival Gala of CCTV. When Lu Qin and Qin Fei arrived backstage, it was already very lively. The backstage area was divided into two large areas. One was for celebrities and the other was for ordinary actors and extras. The area was very large. The makeup table was neatly arranged. Many celebrities and actors were putting on makeup in front of the mirror. The passage in the middle was full of people, and there were photographers carrying cameras to shoot. Accompanying Lu Qin and Qin Fei were two assistants. Lu Chen's assistant was still Li Zhen. After the successful screening of A Chinese Ghost Story, Lu Chen's studio in Hong Kong did not weaken or dissolve after his return to China. Instead, it further expanded its scale and strength. At present, Lu Chen's studio had more than 30 employees. At present, they were mainly responsible for Lu Qin and Qin Fei's career development, work recommendation, image marketing, and so on. In addition, they also excavated local talents to fill the headquarters of Qin Fei Media. According to Lu Chen's plan, the studio would be upgraded to Qin Fei Media's Hong Kong branch next year and play a more important role, such as promoting his works to the entire Southeast Asia to seek greater influence. In the future, whether it was music albums, movies, or TV series produced by Qin Fei Media, it would be released, screened, and broadcast in Hong Kong through Qin Fei Media. Not only Lu Qin and Qin Fei but also all signed artists of Qin Fei Media. Lu Qin attached great importance to Xiangjiang, an important place for entertainment. He had his own contacts here. "Hello, Mr. Lu Qin." "Hello, Teacher Lu." When Lu Qin appeared in the backstage area, many star artists present greeted him warmly. Most of these stars are Hong Kong artists. Of course, those who are qualified to attend the return celebration party are not ordinary people. Among them, there is no lack of real big stars. Lu Qin knows all of them and can say their names, but there are very few who have a friendship with him. Regardless of whether he was familiar with them or not, he politely responded to them one by one, shaking hands and exchanging a few pleasantries, behaving very appropriately. In contrast, Qin Fei, who was always by Lu Chen's side, became his foil. Although many people took the initiative to greet him, he did not attract as much attention as Lu Qin. However, Qin Fei didn't feel neglected at all. Instead, he felt very proud of Lu Qin. In terms of popularity in Hong Kong, among the mainland stars and artists, Lu Qin deserved to be the first. In addition to the impact of the UD 725 flight incident not long ago, the most important thing was his career development in Hong Kong, relying on films and TV series such as A Chinese Ghost Story and Autumn in My Heart to achieve rapid accumulation. Moreover, he had also written The Love of a Lifetime, The Road Follows You, and other Cantonese works that were regarded as classics, injecting a strong vitality into Cantonese pop songs that had been declining in recent years. All of these contributed to Lu Chen's current status in Hong Kong's entertainment circle. Lu Qin, Fei, Soon, the two of them met a mutual friend, Xu Jing. Sister Jing. Qin Fei was surprised and hugged Xu Jing. Long time no see. Xu Jing was one of Qin Fei's few friends in Hong Kong. The two of them had known each other for many years and belonged to the kind of real good friends who hadn't seen each other for a few years. The last time they met was at the premiere of A Chinese Ghost Story, and more than half a year had passed in a flash. Xu Jing seemed to be in excellent condition. She was in high spirits and full of charm. She didn't look like a woman who was nearly 40 years old at all. Her smile gave people the feeling of a spring breeze. After being intimate with Qin Fei, she gave Lu Qin a friendly hug and asked with a smile, "Lu Qin, since you and Fei have come to Hong Kong this time, why don't you stay for a few more days? How about we go out to sea and play?" Lu Qin smiled bitterly and said, "I'm afraid I don't have time." He was too busy with work this year, and his schedule was already full. Not to mention staying for a few more days, he had to fly back to the capital the day after the celebration party. Xu Jing pulled Qin Fei and insisted, "Fei help Sister Jing talk to your boyfriend. You have to give me a chance to thank him, right?" Qin Fei pursed his lips and smiled. "Sister Fei, then treat us to dinner tomorrow." The reason why Xu Jing wanted to thank Lu Qin was because her album, Good Time, released at the beginning of the year, was a great success. Not only did it win double platinum sales, but it also won a number of music awards. Among them, the title song, Summer Wind, and the second title song, Courage, written by Lu Qin for Good Time, were ranked in the top 3 of the on-demand list for 7 consecutive weeks on Hong Kong's pop radio station. In particular, the song, Courage, became the best symbol of Xu Jing's comeback in the music industry. Today, Xu Jing, with the help of this popular album, returned to the ranks of Hong Kong's A-list female singers. All kinds of endorsements, commercial performances, and notices were soft, and she made a lot of money. Xu Jing, who had married into a wealthy family, was not short of money, but the feeling of returning to the peak of her career was undoubtedly the best for her, and it was also the reason why she was very grateful to Lu Qin. For Chen Fei's proposal, Lu Qin was very supportive. "Yes, let's have dinner together." Xu Jing sighed and said, "You too." "Well, then it's settled. Let's have dinner together tomorrow night." As the 3 of them were talking, there was another commotion in the backstage area. Lu Gangxing and Shifang came. It was a gathering of stars. Chapter 746. The rehearsal for Hong Kong's return celebration party went smoothly. In such a grand ceremony, any star artist would go all out and do their best. No one dared to be perfunctory. Although it was just a rehearsal, their performance was no different from a formal performance. Time passed quickly, and it was one day closer to the day of return. On the 3rd night after Lu Qin and Chen Fei flew to Hong Kong, they had a sumptuous dinner with Xu Jing. After dinner, they changed to tea and snacks, and the 3 sat and chatted. While chatting, Xu Jing suddenly asked, "When are you 2 going to get married?" Lu Qin and Chen Fei looked at each other and smiled. It seemed that they had been asked the same question many times this year. Everyone was very concerned about them. Lu Qin smiled and said, "If there are no accidents, I think it should be in the second half of next year." He and Chen Fei had been in a relationship for almost 3 years, and it was almost time to really settle their marriage. Although it was normal for star artists to get married late, most people in the circle did not get married until they were in their 30s or 40s. But Lu Qin felt that there was really no need for him and Chen Fei to have a long-distance love race. As a mature man, he had enough preparation to bear this responsibility. Other than that, nothing else was important at all. Therefore, he calmly answered Xu Jing's question, and what he said was the decision he had made after careful consideration. As the other party involved, Chen Fei was really a little surprised. Because the 2 had originally discussed that in the next 2 years, they would focus on expanding their career, and the marriage could be put off for the time being. She did not expect that Lu Qin would give Xu Jing such a clear answer. However, although she was surprised, Lu Qin's answer still made her feel very sweet in her heart. She could not help but hold Lu Qin's hand, and her eyes were full of tenderness. She knew that Lu Qin was serious. "Congratulations then." Xu Jing was even more surprised. She just asked casually, and most likely meant it as a joke. She did not expect to get such a big news from Lu Qin's mouth. At the same time, Xu Jing also felt a deep sense of envy. Because she could see that Lu Qin's feelings for Chen Fei couldn't be more sincere. In the entertainment industry, where men and women were used to breaking up and reuniting, there were too many cases of flowers blossoming but not bearing fruit, making true love a luxury. It's easy to find priceless treasures, but it's hard to find a lover. Xu Jing couldn't help but ask, "Have you thought about where you're going for your honeymoon?" Lu Qin shook his head, "I haven't thought about it yet. I want to get married with Fei first, and then choose a date to hold the wedding." Xu Jing nodded. The wedding needs to be well planned. If it's more romantic, we can rent an island in the Aegean Sea, she excitedly chatted with Chen Fei about the wedding. She was really enthusiastic. After Xu Jing cared about their marriage, Chen Fei also cared about her personal life. Sister Jing, have you ever thought about getting married again? I saw on the news that there are a lot of people chasing after you. Xu Jing and Chen Fei were real best friends, and their relationship was very good. After Xu Jing's marriage failed, Chen Fei flew to Hong Kong to accompany her for a period of time. Now that Xu Jing had successfully got rid of the shadow of the past and returned to the entertainment industry with great success, she naturally became the object of the paparazzi's pursuit. Some time ago, the news of several rich men and male stars pursuing Xu Jing was reported repeatedly. Even Chen Fei, who was far away in the capital, saw related reports on the internet. As a good friend, Chen Fei also hoped that Xu Jing could be happy again. Me? Xu Jing shook her head with a smile and said, "To be honest, I feel that living alone is the best. I don't plan to find someone to marry. In the future, when I get old, I will adopt a child, and then I will have no regrets in my life." As she spoke, her eyes were very serious. Sister Jing, do you really plan to be single for the rest of your life? On the way home, Chen Fei leaned on Lu Chen's arms and asked with blurred eyes, "Will it be very hard?" She had a good chat with Xu Jing that night, and they shared a bottle of red wine. Now that she was drunk, her mood began to become a little depressed, and she sighed for her good friend's rough relationship. Lu Chen hugged her and said, "No, I believe that Sister Jing will find her own happiness." Chen Fei nodded and did not speak again. After a while, the Mercedes-Benz that they were in slowly pulled over. "Are we home?" Chen Fei straightened up, but found that something was wrong. "Hey! Why did we stop here?" This was not the shallow bay where they lived, but the bustling Central Avenue, full of luxury shopping malls. "Yes." Lu Chen opened the door and pulled Chen Fei out of the car. "We will stop here." Chen Fei was pulled by Lu Chen in a daze. Soon, they arrived at the door of a closed shop. "What are we buying?" Chen Fei was still drunk, and she was completely confused by Lu Chen. "This shop is closed." As soon as she finished speaking, the two glass doors of the shop were pulled open from the inside, and the lights inside and outside were instantly turned on. The soft and bright light dispersed the darkness, and shone on the two of them. Chen Fei's eyes lit up, and she saw two beautiful shopping assistants in red standing at the door. They smiled and bowed. "Mr. Lu, Miss Chen, welcome to the rare jade house." Chen Fei suddenly woke up. At this time, how could she not understand what was going on? Lu Chen actually arranged a surprise for her without saying a word. The Rare Jade House was a century-old brand in Hong Kong, specializing in jade jewelry. Lu Chen undoubtedly spent a lot of effort to make the Rare Jade House close the shop just to serve her. Most importantly, not long ago, she saw a set of jade jewelry in a magazine advertisement, and she liked it very much. She said that she would go and have a look when she had the chance, and the advertisement was published by the Rare Jade House. At that time, Chen Fei just said it casually, but Lu Chen firmly remembered it in his heart. At this moment, Chen Fei's heart was in a mess of sweetness. She didn't care about the vanity of closing the shop. With her wealth and fame, she could make a reservation by herself. What moved her was Lu Chen's sincerity. If there were not so many shopping assistants in the shop, Chen Fei would have immediately kissed him to express her burning love. Lu Chen held her hand and smiled. "Let's take a look at the set of jade jewelry in the advertisement first. I've already asked them to prepare it. There are other things, and we can look at them slowly. As long as you like them, you can buy them all." The surrounding shopping assistants all looked at Chen Fei with envy and even jealousy. There were so few men who were handsome, rich, and spoiled their girlfriends. Chapter 747. On November 29, Hong Kong ushered in the most lively moment. According to the data released by the Xiangjiang Tourism Bureau, there would be more than 500,000 tourists pouring into Xiangjiang on that day, and most of them were here for the Homecoming Day celebration. It was estimated that the number of tourists in Sheungwan, Central Wan, Admiralty, Causeway Bay, North Point, and other areas would definitely exceed 1 million. This brought Xiangjiang a lot of popularity, but it also brought a lot of pressure. In the morning, traffic control was implemented around Century Square. Except for vehicles with special passes, other vehicles were not allowed to go on the road. In addition, the Special Administrative Region government deployed a large number of police forces to ensure safety. Night had just fallen. On both sides of the main road from the upper ring to the north corner, on the high-rise buildings along the road, the festive lights were all lit up. The colorful lights were blurry, making people feel as if they were in a dream world. However, this was only the beginning. At 6:15 p.m., the first lantern float set off from the upper ring road. Under the escort of several police cars, the long floats moved along the main road towards the north corner. These floats were jointly arranged by people from all walks of life in Hong Kong. They combined the essence of Eastern and Western cultures. Some represented traditional Chinese myths and legends, and some represented the classic images of Western fairy tales. In addition to traditional craftsmanship, there were also ingenious designs by modern designers. All of them were magnificent and breathtaking. Tens of thousands of Hong Kong residents and tourists had already been waiting on both sides of the road. When they saw the floats coming, they all let out enthusiastic and loud cheers and exclamations, and took photos one after another. The performers standing on the floats waved to the crowd from time to time, or threw flowers and candy. The entire area surrounding Port Victoria had turned into a sea of joy. At 8:30 in the evening, the Day of Return celebration party in Century Square officially began. Since it coincided with the anniversary celebration, this year's celebration party was particularly grand. Not only were the top stars from the mainland, Hong Kong, and Taiwan invited to participate in the performance, but the number of audience who were able to enter the party to watch the party reached an unprecedented 150,000 people. In addition to the ordinary audience, there were also representatives from the mainland and the Hong Kong government, representatives of foreign institutions in Hong Kong, and representatives from all walks of life in Hong Kong. The level of the standard was no less than that of the Spring Festival Gala. It was definitely unrealistic for so many people to see the performance on the central stage clearly. Therefore, 12 giant screens were set up at the venue and outside the venue. In addition, all the advertising screens in the city, as well as the publicity screens of the subway and bus systems, would be playing the live broadcast simultaneously. In addition, many TV stations, including CCTV, ATV, Hong Kong Satellite TV, and Treasure Island Satellite TV, were present at the party. Bang! 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 Bright fireworks bloomed in the sky above Port Victoria, lighting up the night sky and opening the curtain of the party. Accompanied by the passionate music accompaniment, Zhang Yun, Qi Jiahe, Gao Qingfang, and Huang Hao, the four famous star hosts of Hong Kong, stepped onto the stage. Under the spotlight, they respectively expressed their welcome to all the guests and audience in Mandarin, Cantonese, and English. Following that, the first large-scale song and dance performance made its grand entrance. Xiangjiang was a place where people gathered, and it was also the capital of film and television entertainment. Not only were there many people in the entertainment industry, but there were also countless stars and artists. Therefore, the programs presented at the return celebration party were naturally the best of the best. It was said that the organizing committee for the homecoming celebration had specially invited the Spring Festival Gala's set planners and choreographers from Beijing to bring in the Spring Festival Gala's proudest features. Big improvements were made to the gala's level and stage effects. Song and dance, chorus, lion dance, acrobatics. The performances were performed one after another, giving the audience a feast for their eyes. The domestic Central TV Department 2 broadcast the celebration party in Xiangjiang simultaneously, and the exclusive live broadcast right of the domestic network was won by the rich QQ Video, so countless netizens watched the event through QQ Video. Among them, there were a large number of fans of Lu Qin and Chen Feier. As early as half a month ago, Chenfei Media announced the news on their official V that Lu Qin and Chen Feier had been invited to participate in the celebration party of Xiangjiang's return, so the fans knew it early. However, because the content of the program was confidential, no one knew what the two would perform, so they stayed in front of the TV or computer early to watch. Seeing that more than an hour had passed, neither Lu Qin nor Chen Feier had shown up, many fans couldn't help but get anxious and send barrage of complaints. Why hasn't my Chin appeared yet? Oh, I didn't get cheated, did I? Who has the program list? I didn't find it on the internet. I'm so anxious. I shouldn't have been cheated. The news from the official V can't be fake. Let's wait patiently. My Chin and my Feier should be a male and female chorus. I guess it's a new song. QQ Video originally couldn't send barrage of comments, only comments. However, in recent years, with the rapid rise of major live broadcasting platforms, barrage culture has become popular, and QQ Video has increased the barrage function with the times. Because the webcast copyright is monopolized by QQ Video, Whale TV can't broadcast the party, so many, Whale TV, fans ran to QQ Video and sent barrage all over the sky. Fortunately, everyone's wait didn't last too long. After the end of a dance program, the host Zhang Yun and Qi Jiahe came on stage and announced the name of the next program. The next program is a bit special. Zhang Yun, the host from Xiangjiang Satellite TV, first sold a little suspense and said with a smile, "We will see 4 of the top singers and stars, and they are from Xiangjiang and mainland, with countless fans. And they will sing the same song for us." Qi Jiahe held up the microphone and said loudly, "First of all, let's welcome the best female singer from mainland, Miss Chen Feier." As soon as his voice fell, a spotlight fell on the corner of the stage, and the live camera followed and froze, allowing Chen Feier, who was dressed up, to appear in front of all the audience. Tonight, Chen Feier was extraordinarily beautiful. The just right makeup added a bit of beauty to her, and a platinum jade necklace and matching earrings hanging around her neck made her look graceful and luxurious. The color of the jade pendant that appeared in the camera picture was extremely pure, thick, bright, and dazzling. It was the top and perfect color, in sharp contrast with Chen Feier's snow-white jade-like skin. This kind of Chen Feier made fans feel a little strange, because no one had ever seen Chen Feier wearing the same jade jewelry, but they were more amazed. Chapter 748. Chen Feier. With the stunning appearance of Chen Feier, there were bursts of cheers inside and outside the Century Square. Many fans shouted her name loudly, like the tide in the Victoria Harbor, surging wave after wave. 2 years ago, although Chen Feier was famous in the mainland and was the queen of the Chinese music industry, she was only a little famous in Hong Kong. Many people recognized her and knew her name, but most of them did not know the achievements and honors she had won. However, the current Chen Feier was not inferior to any Hong Kong female star in the hearts of Hong Kong people. Autumn in My Heart and a Full House of Romance allowed countless people in Hong Kong to get to know this woman with a stunning appearance and beautiful smile. Even her Woman Flower album sold very well in Hong Kong, and several songs were sung in the streets and alleys. Therefore, no one felt strange that Chen Feier was invited to the return celebration party, and no one thought that there was anything wrong with the introduction of the host, Zhang Yun. Chen Feier was definitely one of the top female singers in the mainland. Many fans who were familiar with Chen Feier were cheering and applauding, but they also thought that the next one would not be Lu Qin, right? Lu Chen's fame in Hong Kong was even more resounding than that of Qin Fei. Not to mention the 2 TV series that set a record in the ratings in Hong Kong, A Chinese Ghost Story, and several classic Cantonese original songs were enough to make people firmly remember this tall, handsome, and talented young artist. And the relationship between Lu Qin and Qin Fei was also a popular story in the entertainment circle that countless people talked about. Zhang Yun, with a smile on her face, continued Qi Jiahe's words and said loudly, "Next, let's welcome the most outstanding young singer of the Chinese pop music industry from the mainland, Mr. Lu Qin." The second beam of light shone down, illuminating a spot a few meters away from Qin Fei. It also illuminated Lu Chen's figure. The combination of a suit, a white shirt, and a black bow tie, the meticulously tailored clothes made Lu Qin, who was 183 meters tall, look unusually tall and handsome. There was a faint smile on his face, and his dark eyes were full of vigor. There was a trace of unruly freedom in his solemn expression. Lu Qin. Lu Qin. Lu Qin. The applause inside and outside the square that had not yet subsided suddenly erupted again. The cheers of the audience became louder and more intense, especially those young female fans, who screamed excitedly. Too cool. Lu Qin rarely wore formal clothes. Usually, he dressed casually. He often ran around in jeans and a t-shirt, giving people the feeling that he was the sunshine boy next door. At this time, Lu Qin, who appeared on the stage at this moment, was like a real Prince Charming. His whole body was shrouded in a halo, making him the focus of everyone. However, everyone saw Lu Qin walk towards Qin Fei with ease, and bow to her in a gentlemanly manner and make an invitation gesture to her. Qin Fei smiled sweetly and sent out her slender hand in response. The two of them held hands. This scene fell into the eyes of countless people, and immediately triggered a wave of envy, jealousy, and hatred. Qin finally appeared. So cool. It's better not to come out. As soon as he came up, he flashed the lights. It's going to blind me. They don't forget to show their love at the return celebration party. They're going to kill us single dogs. I seem to see tons of dog food thrown at me. In the live broadcast of QQ video, the audience's complaints made people unable to see the picture at all. If they wanted to continue watching, they could only choose to block it. Otherwise, they could only see a colorful barrage of comments. The number was so large that it made people's hair stand on end. While complaining, many people were also very curious and looking forward to it. Qin Fei and Lu Qin have come out, so who are the other two top singer stars? According to Zhang Yun's hint, the other two should be local artists in Xiangjiang. Fortunately, the time of the program was limited, and the two hosts could not keep the audience guessing for too long. The third answer was quickly revealed, Shi Fang. Tonight, Qin Fei was wearing a long white dress, while Shi Fang was wearing a red dress. The Heavenly Queen of Xiangjiang had an irreplaceable position in the minds of Hong Kong people, so the moment she appeared, the atmosphere in Century Square could be described as terrifying. Those sitting in front of the TV and computers watching the live broadcast were very excited. There were 3 top stars in a program, and their importance has already surpassed all the previous programs. And the fourth, Lu Gangsheng. When the figure of the Heavenly Queen of Xiangjiang appeared on the stage and appeared on all the screens of the live broadcast party, people were so excited that they had nothing to say. They believed that this should be the biggest and most unexpected Easter egg in this grand party. Qin Fei, Lu Qin, Shi Fang, and Lu Gangsheng. 2 came from the mainland, and 2 came from Xiangjiang. They were all figures standing at the top of the industry. If the 4 of them formed a group, then who in the entire Chinese entertainment industry could match them? Absolutely no one. Shi Fang and Lu Gangxing looked at each other and smiled amidst the cheers of thousands of spectators, and held hands like Lu Qin and Chen Feier. But no one would misunderstand the relationship between the two, because everyone knew that Shi Fang and Lu Gangxing had been good friends for many years. The friendship story between the two was enough to make a long TV series. The four superstars stood together in the center of the stage, and the lights fell on them, as if they were angels who had descended to the world. Next, let's invite Chen Feier, Lu Qin, Shi Fang, and Lu Gangxing to sing for us together. Zhang Yun and Qi Jiahe, the two hosts, said in the same excited tone, the Pearl of the Orient. This program that people had been looking forward to was finally unveiled. Of course, they would sing the same song together, but everyone felt that the name of the song was both familiar and strange to them. The familiar thing was that Xiangjiang had always had the reputation of the Pearl of the Orient, especially since the 1980s and 1990s of the last century. The prosperity and beauty of Xiangjiang had attracted the attention from all over the world, making this nickname worthy of its name. As for the strange thing, it was because no one had heard of a song called The Pearl of the Orient. Maybe Xiangjiang was too special, and the title of the song, The Pearl of the Orient, was too big, so no songwriter dared to challenge it. Even if it had appeared, it had not spread at all. And the audience watching the screen saw the name of the songwriter in the subtitle at the first time. Lu Qin. Lu Qin again. It was Lu Qin again. It was really only Lu Qin. All the accidents had the most reasonable explanation. Chapter 749. The river flows south to Hong Kong, let's go and have a look. Pearl of the Orient, my love, is your style still romantic? Singing the same song, the two hosts first introduced Chen Feier and Lu Qin from the mainland, and the first to sing was Chen Gangxing, who was the last to appear on the stage. The most famous superstar of Hong Kong held the microphone. His resolute eyes seemed to look across the Century Square, overlooking the brightly lit Hong Kong, recalling the vicissitudes of hundreds of years it had experienced. He sang the prelude of the song, Pearl of the Orient, with a deep voice that countless fans were familiar with. The Century Square, which accommodated more than 100,000 spectators, was silent. Everyone's eyes were focused on the center stage, focusing on the four superstars from the mainland and Hong Kong. They were all attentive, listening attentively. The crescent moon in the harbor, the deep night, the lights shining, Pearl of the Orient, sleepless all night, guarding the promise of the vicissitudes of life. The next to sing was Shi Fang. Her voice still had the same charm, but it was mixed with strong emotions. That was her deep love for the land of Hong Kong. The performance of the two superstars and the Queen of Pearl of the Orient could be said to be impeccable, and the tacit cooperation between the two was even more impeccable, making this new and special work instantly have a powerful charm that touched people's hearts. Of course, a good song could make a singer, but only an outstanding singer could make a classic. At this moment, countless audiences believed that this song, Pearl of the Orient, would certainly become a classic. The combination of Chen Gangxing and Shi Fang was unparalleled. This also made many fans of Lu Qin and Chen Feier involuntarily sweat. Four people singing the same song was of course a glory, but it also brought great pressure. With Chen Gangxing and Shi Fang's performance in front of them, could Lu Qin and Chen Feier show a matching level of strength? Let the sea breeze blow for 5,000 years, every tear seems to speak of your dignity. After Shi Fang, Lu Qin very naturally took over the melody that she had just finished, and made his own voice. A high-spirited, passionate, and unyielding voice. Let the tides accompany me to bless you. Please don't forget my face that will never turn yellow. In the next moment, Chen Feier finished the first section of The Pearl of the Orient with her heavenly voice. Her smile was bright and brilliant, and her voice was filled with incomparable pride. The boat bends into the harbor. Looking back, the sea is boundless. Pearl of the East, embrace me, let me warm your desolate chest. The last few lines were sung by the four of them. Their different voices blended together perfectly, singing out their common feelings. As the singing continued, the applause exploded in an instant. Many people were so excited that they stood up and clapped with all their might, paying tribute to the four singers on the stage. They were emotional, moved, and full of admiration. The Pearl of the Orient was undoubtedly a very beautiful lyrical song. It wrote about the vicissitudes of Xinjiang's 100 years of vicissitudes through a high degree of cultural feelings and a unique perspective. At the same time, it also sang the deep nostalgia of the people of Xinjiang for their homeland, which was connected by blood to China, with a unique oriental tune, soothing the scars of their homeland's fate. This was also a very positive work. Although Xinjiang had already returned, after 100 years of vicissitudes of colonization, many people of Xinjiang still remembered it clearly. Only after losing it would they know what was precious. This song was also expressing the feelings of millions of people of Xinjiang. Xinjiang and the motherland would always be their home. Only home would there be love, only with love would there be warmth, and home would always be their own harbor. The Pearl of the Orient, my love, are you still romantic? With the help of satellite signals, the song was spread all over the motherland and the world. Let all the Chinese who were sitting in front of the TV and computers, and those who were holding tablets or mobile phones to watch the live broadcast of the celebration party, listen to this song. Not far from Century Square, the Victoria Harbour was once again filled with dazzling fireworks. Tonight, Xinjiang was destined to be sleepless. On the second day of the celebration, the front pages of major media in Xinjiang and China were basically occupied by the same news, among which the content related to the celebration party took up a lot of space. This year coincided with the anniversary celebration, so the standard of the celebration party was higher than usual. The number of invited guests, the number of live audiences, the number of participating stars, and even the number of tourists to Hong Kong had all broken the previous record. Grand, wonderful, perfect, successful. Many words of praise filled the pages of newspapers and websites. The praise from all walks of life undoubtedly drew a successful end to this grand celebration. But the most mentioned was still the four words, the Pearl of the Orient. These four words were originally a beautiful name for Xinjiang, but now it had another meaning. It was a song created by Lu Qin and sung by four superstars, Lu Gangxing, Shi Fang, Lu Qin, and Qin Fei. Many people in the circle, including many professional music critics, highly praised The Pearl of the Orient, believing that this song created a new height for Lu Qin as a singer. Wang Minghai, a professor at Xinjiang University and a famous music critic, wrote on his blog, The Pearl of the Orient is a song that belongs to Xinjiang, and also a song that belongs to China. It sings the inseparable cultural home feelings of Xinjiang to the motherland, tells the destiny complex of homesickness of the Chinese people since ancient times, and deeply reveals the unique cultural nostalgia in Chinese civilization. It is a rare classic. As one of the singers, Lu Gangxing was also full of praise for Lu Qin when interviewed by the media after the party. He thought that Lu Qin deserved the title of the most outstanding singer in Chinese pop music. And this song, The Pearl of the Orient, will also become the main work of his new album released early next year. Another singer, Shi Fang, also expressed the same view. With this song, and through the mouth of Lu Gangxing, the heavenly king of Xinjiang, and Shi Fang, Lu Qin's fame and status in the entertainment circle in Xinjiang suddenly jumped to a higher level, and he entered the ranks of the top stars, becoming an existence that everyone paid attention to. As for the domestic market, he was already a hot potato. His popularity was unparalleled. People waving checks and running to Qinfei Media to seek cooperation were simply breaking the threshold. Lu Xi's 3 mobile phones kept ringing all day long. She was simply annoyed to no end. However, Lu Qin and Qin Fei were even more low-key. They declined many media interviews and quietly flew back to the capital the next day after the performance in Xiangjiang. Note: lyric/composer of The Pearl of the Orient, Luo Dio. Chapter 750. It was already very late when he got home. "I'm so tired," Chen Fei threw her handbag casually, and then threw herself on the big sofa in the living room in an unladylike manner. She twisted her graceful body and made a satisfied moan that was easily misunderstood. "Well, home is the most comfortable." Of course it was comfortable. This custom-made sofa was made of very high-end fabrics and leather. The design was made by a famous designer. The biggest feature was that it was very comfortable whether sitting or lying down. Lu Chen put the suitcase aside and said with a smile, "Are you hungry? I'll cook 2 bowls of noodles." The two took the afternoon flight from Hong Kong back to the capital, but because the air route was too busy, there was a long traffic control, so they waited at the airport for a full 3 hours before boarding the plane. Then they arrived in the capital and happened to be in the evening rush hour. As a result, the road was blocked for more than 2 hours. After such a torment, Lu Chen was still fine, but Chen Fei was really physically and mentally exhausted. Lying on the sofa, she was too lazy to move. She groaned weakly, headache, no appetite. Lu Chen was a little distressed. He walked over to sit on the sofa and let Chen Fei's head rest on his thigh. Then he gently massaged her temple and said softly, "Then I'll order some takeout. What do you want to eat?" Chen Fei groaned a few times and said angrily, "I don't want to eat anything, and I don't want to work anymore." Okay, Lu Chen said with a smile, "It's up to you. I'll accompany you to rest at home these days. Other things will be put aside first." In fact, Lu Chen was very clear that his girlfriend was just a little angry occasionally. In fact, her career ambition was stronger than his. Once she was engaged in work, she often forgot to eat and sleep, and worked harder than anyone else. From an unknown newcomer to today's superstar, Chen Fei relied not only on luck, but more importantly, her efforts and persistence. No one's success was casual, and Chen Fei was no exception. If she really had to give up all her work and retire from the entertainment industry to enjoy her life, she would not be willing. Hearing Lu Chen's words, Chen Fei couldn't help but giggle. She stretched out her arms and hugged Lu Chen's neck. Her eyes were filled with tenderness as she asked, "Tell me the truth. Have you ever been annoyed when I'm being unreasonable?" Lu Chen replied without hesitation, "Never." It wasn't easy for two people to fall in love, and it was even more difficult to get along. Especially in the entertainment industry, there were too many temptations and fetters. As a celebrity couple, it was impossible for them to always be harmonious. If love was to last forever, mutual understanding and respect were very important. Chen Fei's personality was naturally very good, but sometimes she would lose her temper and even cause trouble for Lu Chen, getting a little jealous. If Lu Chen was still the Lu Chen from 3 years ago and had not experienced that strange dream, perhaps he would have broken up with Chen Fei under heavy pressure. However, the 3 lives in the dream had given him maturity and experience that far exceeded that of ordinary people. It had also created a broad mind and a forgiving heart. Therefore, although Chen Fei was older than Lu Chen, in the relationship between the two, Lu Chen's tolerance and generosity were the most important weights to maintain the relationship between the two. "I don't believe it," Chen Fei said that she didn't believe it, but her eyes were smiling, and she was very happy. Her eyes were even more gentle and charming. Lu Chen couldn't resist the temptation and immediately lowered his head to kiss her fragrant lips. Chen Fei passionately catered to him, and her fingers inserted into Lu Chen's hair. Her starry eyes were half closed, and her breathing was rapid. She had already been connected with the earth fire by the heavenly thunder. Ding-ling-ling, just when the two of them couldn't stop, Lu Chen had just taken it off and thrown it into the pocket of his clothes. The ringtone of his mobile phone suddenly rang, startling both of them. Damn, Lu Qin scolded very unhappily, and simply ignored it and continued to be intimate with Chen Feier. This mobile phone was a private phone, and it was set to only be dialed by relatives and friends on the address book. Strangers definitely couldn't call in, so unless something big happened, it would not be continuously harassed. As a result, the mobile phone really rang non-stop. Chen Feier couldn't stand it first, and smiled and pushed him away. Answer the phone, in case there's something important. Lu Qin shook his head speechlessly, propped up his body to sit up, and took his clothes. He took out his mobile phone and found that it was Li Mushi who called. Lu Qin was immediately relieved, and couldn't help complaining when he picked up the phone. Sister Mushi, it's morning on your side, and it's late at night here. What happened? It's winter time in the United States, and there is a 13-hour time difference between New York and Beijing, so it's late at night here, and it's still morning there, just reversed. Did I disturb you and Chen Feier? Li Mushi said with a smile on the phone. If that's the case, it doesn't matter if I call later. Lu Qin couldn't help looking at the phone in his hand, suspecting that Li Mushi had mastered some kind of powerful hacking method to be able to know his every move from thousands of miles away in New York. His guess was too accurate, wasn't it? He said with a wry smile. Sister Mushi, don't joke with me, Li Mushi said with a smile. That's not a joke. I just called to ask, as a newly born billionaire, what do you think? A newly born billionaire. Lu Qin was stunned and didn't understand what Li Mushi was talking about. But he quickly came to his senses. The crowdfunding website is officially listed on NASDAQ. Li Mushi sighed and said, Young Master Lu, I really admire you. You don't care about such a big thing. Lu Qin smiled. The listing of the crowdfunding website on NASDAQ in the United States can be described as twists and turns. In order to ensure the success of the listing, Li Mushi went to New York for half a year, during which she experienced many negotiations. Nowadays, the domestic internet market has been cleanly divided by the giants. If the new generation of internet companies has enough strength and fighting power, it is very difficult for them to enter the US stock market through venture capital to make money only by relying on one or two creative products. American capitalists are not fools, so even if the crowdfunding website has an innovative model and good profitability, it has gone through many twists and turns and paid a lot of price, and finally completed the most important process. As the founder of the crowdfunding website, Li Mushi originally invited Lu Qin to the NASDAQ Live Exchange site to participate in the opening ceremony of the crowdfunding website. It's just that because Lu Qin needs to attend the Hong Kong Homecoming Day celebration party, he was unable to do so. But Li Mushi also called Lu Qin at the first time. Share this joy together. Chapter 751. On December 1st, Lu Qin, who was still asleep, received a call from Li Mushi again. Crowdfunding was officially listed on NASDAQ at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on the 30th. The opening price was US $23.50, and it continued to rise. By the time the market closed at 4 p.m., the share price had risen to US $45.76, up nearly 200%. The market value of crowdfunding has also reached US $3.9 billion. Although it has not created a market legend, and the 200% first-day increase is not among the top 10 internet companies listed on NASDAQ, compared with the past 5 years, the results of crowdfunding are undoubtedly very proud. The success of crowdfunding's IPO on NASDAQ has created many billionaires at the same time. Leaving aside Li Mushi, who holds the most shares, Lu Qin's net worth has soared by nearly US $400 million overnight because he holds 10% of the founders' shares of crowdfunding. This is just the beginning. Li Mushi said triumphantly on the phone, "Our goal is a share price of US $100 and a market value of US $10 billion. Crowdfunding has such strength." Li Mushi is not so complacent that she gets carried away. Although the online crowdfunding model created by crowdfunding no longer enjoys commercial creative copyright protection, with its innovative model and first-mover advantage, coupled with a large amount of capital investment and market development in the early stage, the market share of crowdfunding is far ahead of the second place in the face of competition from many competitors in the same industry. At present, crowdfunding has a market share of 65% in China and more than 30% in the United States, and it made a profit last year. This year's profit has increased significantly, so the opening price has risen sharply. According to the estimates of professionals, in the next 2 days, the stock price of crowdfunding should have a certain growth. If the same performance growth can continue next year, then breaking through the market value of US $10 billion is really not a dream. Congratulations, Sister Mushi. Lu Qin said with a smile, the richest woman in the world. Li Mushi said, what kind of richest woman am I? There are many women richer than me in China. Lu Qin quibbled, I'm talking about those under the age of 30. Li Mushi currently holds 37.5% of crowdfunding shares. Even according to the market value on the first day, she has a net worth of nearly US $1.5 billion. Among the richest women in China under the age of 30, she is really qualified to be the richest woman in China. I don't count as someone under 30. Li Mushi corrected him again very seriously, I know 2 people who are worth more than that. But if they can reach a market value of 10 billion, that's basically enough. Lu Qin smiled and said, Sister Mushi, I believe you can do it. Li Mushi's efforts are inseparable from the crowdfunding website's success today. In order to get the crowdfunding website listed on Nasdaq, she devoted all her time to her work. She didn't fall in love or go shopping, and often forgot to eat and sleep. This was the reward she deserved. Lu Qin chatted with Li Mushi for a while longer before hanging up. When he put down the phone, he looked at the time. It was 5:17 in the morning, and the sun was not up yet. That's $400 million worth of assets. It felt like a dream. Lu Qin leaned against the headboard. His mind was very clear and he couldn't fall asleep anymore. Who called? Chen Fei woke up in a daze. She opened her sleepy eyes and asked, what time is it? She twisted her head, and the quilt covering her body slipped down. Unconsciously, her spring scenery was exposed. Lu Qin helped her cover the quilt again and said, it's Sister Mushi's phone call. Nasdaq has just closed, and the market value of the crowdfunding website has almost reached 4 billion. Ah! Chen Fei was taken aback and completely sobered up, $4 billion. Lu Qin gave an affirmative answer, yes. Chen Fei couldn't help but widen her eyes, didn't you earn $400 million? Lu Qin said with a smile, it's only a little more, and Sister Mushi said it will rise again. Really, Chen Fei was speechless. She has been in the business for more than 10 years, working hard to make money by singing, and then investing all the hard-earned money in real estate. At present, her accumulated net worth is only about 1 billion yuan. Lu Qin just started a website, and then sold most of his shares. In the end, the remaining shares were worth billions. It was really embarrassing. Chen Fei reached out and pinched Lu Qin, it's so unfair. I won't work in the future. You support me. Lu Qin smiled and hugged her, I can't ask for more. In the future, you can drink 2 bowls of soybean milk. 1 bowl of sweet soybean milk, 1 bowl of savory soybean milk, and you can eat as many as you want. How about it? Chen Fei giggled and said, I don't want to drink soybean milk and eat fried dough sticks. Lu Qin pressed her under his body, kissed her face, and said vaguely, then changed to tofu pudding. Buy 2 bowls, drink 1 bowl and pour 1 bowl. Don't. Being tossed and turned by the waves, the morning suddenly became charming. It was the beginning of a new day. Friday, December 1st, tomorrow was a weekend. The pace of people going to work became particularly brisk. Office workers took the subway or bus early to go to work. The city's traffic became busy again. In the crowded carriages, urban, head-down, people holding mobile phones could be seen everywhere. Then many fans of Lu Qin saw Lu Chen's name in the headlines of the economic and financial sections of major portals. The $400 million in bold and black was particularly eye-catching. The crowdfunding website was successfully listed on Nasdaq, and the star founder's net worth increased by more than $400 million. Total net worth exceeds $5 billion, revealing the history of the richest star Lu Qin. The rise of a miracle, the Waves blog has exploded, and all kinds of congratulatory and envious comments, like a tide, poured into Lu Chen's blog. Many people in the circle have Lu Chen to express their congratulations. It is not news for stars to participate in listed companies, especially big artists. They are ashamed to show their faces without the shareholder identity of several companies under their names. There are many of them who have increased their wealth by participating in the listing of companies. But Lu Chen's situation is different from those of his peers. First of all, he is the founder of the crowdfunding website, which was established by him. Second, the crowdfunding website is not listed in China or Hong Kong, but on Nasdaq, which is the most difficult. That is to say, what Lu Chen earns is the money of American shareholders. This achievement alone is enough to make many entrepreneurial rookies in the business and internet circles feel ashamed. Although Lu Chen basically withdrew from the management of the crowdfunding website after transferring most of his shares, the successful listing of the crowdfunding website still gave him a golden halo. Chapter 752. In the era of the surge of the internet, Nasdaq has created countless myths. Many innovative new internet companies can easily create a market value of more than a dozen or even billions or tens of billions of dollars by burning money. Wealthy venture capitalists rush to the market, waving their checks to make the market hotter and hotter. After promoting the listing of the companies they invested in, they made a lot of money. After selling the shares to ordinary investors at a high price, they proudly wiped their mouths and left. However, as the waves receded, it was clear who was swimming naked. The two far-reaching stock disasters have deeply educated shareholders and small and medium investors. The previous set of tricks that worked 100 times a day has long been untenable on Nasdaq. This has also led to the lower and lower probability of new domestic internet companies going public in the United States, and they can only seek to survive in Hong Kong or the mainland growth enterprise market. In such a realistic context, the completion of the IPO of the online crowdfunding on Nasdaq, and the share price rose by nearly 100% on the first day. In the eyes of many people in the industry, it is really a small miracle. As a star shareholder and founder of the online crowdfunding, Lu Chen has undoubtedly received too much attention, so that many people have ignored the real promoter and contributor to the listing of the online crowdfunding on Nasdaq. On December 2nd, the online crowdfunding stock price continued to rise, breaking through $50, and the market value of Lu Chen's shares really exceeded $400 million and went straight to $500 million. The news from the other side of the ocean was passed back to China, and the enthusiasm of public opinion increased. China Financial News, which can be called the flagship level in the domestic financial and economic circle, analyzed the successful experience of the online crowdfunding on its front-page headlines, believing that the innovative internet model still has great potential. Although the main market is divided by several internet giants, small and medium enterprises still have the possibility of breaking out of the encirclement. Compared with those less professional media, China Financial News has undoubtedly paid more attention to Li Mushi, the head of the online crowdfunding, than to Lu Chen, and has praised the young CEO. But in the same way, China Financial News has also affirmed Lu Chen's genius mind. Unlike the professional media, ordinary media, and the vast number of netizens are staring at Lu Chen. While praising and envying him, there have also been some discordant comments on the blog network. Some people said that Lu Chen has now easily earned 2 or 3 billion. Should he take out some money to do good things? As a result, he was immediately scolded by others. Among the celebrities in the domestic entertainment industry, there weren't many that could surpass Lu Chen in terms of donations. The Chin Fei Charity Fund, founded by Lu Chen and Chin Fei, had been established for almost 2 years. The fund's assets had increased from the original tens of millions to the current 300 million, 70% of which came from Lu Chen's personal donation, 20% from Chin Fei, and the remaining 10% from their friends in the circle. In other words, although Chin Fei Charity Fund was a public charity fund, it had never solicited donations from the public. Most of the money came from Lu Chen's own pocket. Most importantly, Lu Chen had only made his debut 3 years ago. He had taken out so much money, all of which was earned through his own hard work. In terms of his attitude towards charity, who could compare? Now, some people actually think that Lu Chen should take out more money. It's ridiculous. In this world, there are many people who hate the rich, but in fact, most of the hate the rich hate those who are rich and heartless, not those who rely on hard work and talent to get rich. Therefore, this kind of provocation, which is obviously malicious, has no market on the internet. Even if there are some water armies jumping up and down, they were quickly scolded away by the saliva of Lu Chen's fans. Some people also expressed regret, because the crowdfunding website was founded by Lu Chen. Now that it is listed on Nasdaq, he only holds 10% of the shares, a bit of a feeling of making wedding clothes for others. This kind of statement has a bit of a market among the netizens who pay attention to this matter, including Lu Chen's fans. Think about it. If Lu Chen hadn't sold so many shares and now held 50%, it would be more than 10 billion. He suffered a loss, he suffered a big loss. But people who really understand the creation, development, and listing process of the crowdfunding website, as well as many people in the industry, scoff at this completely amateur statement. In the development of the internet, it is normal for the shares held by the founders to be diluted continuously, and it is also an essential process on the road to listing. If Lu Chen really holds 50% or more of the crowdfunding shares, then it would be impossible for the crowdfunding website to have a successful IPO. Most importantly, the core of Lu Chen's career has always been in the entertainment industry. When he established the crowdfunding website, it was more of a playful investment nature. It is already commendable to retain 10% of the shares. Therefore, Lu Chen did not suffer a loss at all. It should be said that his original investment has received a 100-fold return. Public opinion was turbulent, and Lu Chen was once again pushed to the forefront of the storm. Lu Chen, on the other hand, has remained silent about this. He did not even update his own blog. He declined interviews from many heavyweight media and spent all his time on work. The shooting of View from the Star was officially completed. The post-production, dubbing, soundtrack, and other work had made him so busy that he couldn't breathe. How could he care about the right and wrong of the outside world? It was not a good thing to be in the limelight too much, and it was necessary to cool it down appropriately. However, what he didn't expect was that an American media rushed to join in the fun at this time. On December 4th, the United States Time magazine launched its latest issue, and the cover was impressively Lu Chen. It once again caused a sensation in China. This was the first time that this famous magazine, which has a wide influence in the world, published a photo of a Chinese star on the cover. In the past, 4 star artists in China, including Hong Kong and Taiwan, have appeared on the cover of Time magazine, but without exception, they were on the cover of the Asian edition. Therefore, Lu Chen was the first to receive such treatment. In the cover introduction of Time, the world-renowned magazine praised Lu Chen's talents and achievements in Chinese pop music, film and television, reviewed the incident of the UD-725 flight that caused a sensation in the United States, and even specifically mentioned Lu Chen's song "Let the Air Go." Then, it elaborated on Lu Chen's relationship with the crowdfunding website that has just been listed on NASDAQ, and talked about Lu Chen's contribution to charity. At the end of the article, the editor of Time called Lu Chen an outstanding representative of the younger generation of Asia and the leading figure of the new generation of the Chinese entertainment industry. Chapter 753. Brother Lu, you're really awesome now. Liao Jia's hoarse voice came from the phone, and the rock and roll brother shouted, "Treat, it's a must." Lu Chen said with a smile, "No problem. You decide the time and place, and I'll pay for it." In fact, he had dinner with Liao Jia in Hong Kong a few days ago, because the latter also participated in the return celebration party, but the meal was treated by Chen Gangxing. This time, Liao Jia called to ask Lu Chen to treat him, because he was on the cover of the United States Time Weekly. This honor is unique in the entertainment industry. In the nearly 100 years since the establishment of the United States Time Weekly, only 11 people from China have been on the cover. All of them are prominent figures who have had a profound impact on the world's politics and economic pattern, or have made indelible contributions. Lu Chen is the only star artist. The shock caused by this incident in China was much greater than the successful listing of the crowdfunding website he founded on NASDAQ. Even national television media broadcast related news, which can be said to be a special honor. The last person from China to be on the cover of the United States Time Weekly was 10 years ago. If the listing of online crowdfunding means profit, then the cover of Time Weekly undoubtedly represents fame. Lu Chen's name once again appeared in the headlines of major media, making it impossible for him to keep a low profile. The direct impact of this is that his blog fans have increased by more than 10 million again, and are about to break through 100 million. As an artist in the entertainment industry, Lu Chen's popularity has really stood at the peak. Compared with other big stars, what he lacks is nothing more than a thick enough foundation and a golden prize. In fact, Lu Chen's foundation has gradually accumulated to a considerable height with the fanatical ratings of You from the Star and the upcoming movie The Smiling, Proud, and Proud Wanderer. As for the prize, according to Lu Chen's fans, he no longer needs to use the prize to prove himself. After ending the call with Liao Jia, Lu Chen's black Mercedes-Benz stopped steadily at the door of the headquarters of Chenfei Media. This guy, he still talks so much nonsense. Chen Feier, who was sitting next to Lu Chen, was very dissatisfied. He warned Lu Chen, "You can treat Liao Jia to a meal, but don't compete with a drunkard like him. Otherwise, I won't agree." Chen Fei had known Liao Jia for many years, but he had never had a good impression of him. He believed that Liao Jia had given up on himself. Although she would not stop Lu Chen from dating Liao Jia, she was wary of the latter's influence on Lu Chen. Of course, Liao Jia wasn't a bad person. He was straightforward. Big and carefree. He had a strong Jianghu vibe, so he was very popular in the circle. But because of this, he had a great influence on his friends. Moreover, he was a playful person and often caused trouble. He had even been in and out of the police station several times. The entertainment industry was a big dye vat. No matter how pure and flawless a person was immersed in it, it was inevitable that he would be stained with color. Only a few people who were truly determined could maintain their original hearts. Chen Feier believed in Lu Chen, but not Liao Jia. Especially now that Lu Chen was so popular that he must be watched by countless eyes. If the paparazzi secretly took a photo of him drunk and making a fool of himself, it would really be a big joke. Lu Chen put away his hot phone, nodded and said, "I know what to do." He knew what Chen Feier was worried about, so he didn't object to her advice. Although the outside media was flattering him, Lu Chen didn't get carried away. Instead, he was very calm. Good boy. Seeing that Lu Chen listened to her words, Chen Feier smiled sweetly and kissed him on the cheek. Lu Chen couldn't help laughing and reached out to open the car door. It had been 5 days since he came back from Hong Kong. This was the first time that Lu Chen had returned to the company's headquarters. After returning to Beijing, he spent most of his time in the film and television city. The two got out of the car together and walked into the company's gate hand in hand. As soon as he stepped into the hall on the ground floor, Lu Chen felt that the atmosphere of the scene was very wrong. Not only was it clean, but there were also all kinds of beautiful potted flowers. A long rope was pulled up from the ceiling, and there were countless colorful flowers tied to it. The employees of Chinfei Media seemed to have all gathered in the hall. They lined up in a neat line, and the stairs leading to the upper floor were also full of people. The blooming smiles were more beautiful than flowers. And Lu Shi stood in the middle of the hall in front of all the employees. Seeing such a scene, Lu Chen and Chen Feier couldn't help but look at each other. Lu Chen couldn't help but ask, "Sister, what are you doing?" Lu Shi smiled slightly and suddenly clapped her hands. This was undoubtedly a signal. As her applause sounded, everyone in the hall applauded in unison. Bang! 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 Several employees standing in the crowd unscrewed the ribbon nozzle, and ribbons were instantly shot into the air and then sprinkled down, making the atmosphere more warm and festive. As a member of Chinfei Media, everyone was really proud. Although the company had only been established for a year or two, the vitality it showed gave them the motivation to work hard. Most importantly, as the soul of the company, Lu Chen brought everyone surprises again and again. They increasingly felt that choosing to join Chinfei Media was the right choice. In the applause, the sister took 2 steps forward and opened her arms to give Lu Chen a big hug. Congratulations. Lu Chen completely understood and smiled. Thank you everyone. The applause became more orderly and louder. Many people were so excited that their faces turned red and they clapped desperately. Holding Lu Chen, Lu Shi suddenly found that her brother had really grown up. Not only was he a lot taller than her, but his physique was also far stronger than before, and he was already soaring in the sky like an eagle. In fact, she should have discovered it long ago, but now she really woke up. In addition to joy and relief, there was also a trace of disappointment in her heart. Where did time go? In the blink of an eye, 20 years quietly passed. And Lu Chen was no longer the little boy who followed her and shouted, "Sister, sister," and asked for hugs with a runny nose. Looking at the sister and brother who were hugging each other in front of her, Chen Feier felt that her eyes were astringent, and something was about to flow out, with a little sadness. Once upon a time, she also had such warm family affection, but things have changed. Lu Shi let go of Lu Chen, smiled at Chen Feier, and then said, "Let's go, there are guests upstairs." Lu Chen nodded, took Chen Feier's hand again, and followed Lu Shi upstairs. Today, he came to the company because there were several very important guests who needed him to come in person. These guests were from Korea. Chapter 754. Chinfei Media's VIP room was renovated 2 months ago. Lu Shi hired a famous Beijing designer to design it in a very pure Chinese style. It was normally only used to receive true VIPs. The few guests sitting across from Lu Chen and Chen Fei were undoubtedly VIPs, especially the young man in his 20s in the middle. His identity was extraordinary. Yu Sunghyun, the third heir of the Beijing Financial Group and the chairman of the Beijing Financial Group. The Beijing Financial Group was one of the 5 largest financial groups in Korea. Although it wasn't as powerful as the famous Samsung Financial Group, it still had a lot of assets and a lot of investments in the country. The Beijing Financial Group was an important part of the Beijing Financial Group. The 28-year-old Yu Sunghyun was able to become the chairman of the Beijing Financial Group not only because of his identity as the third prince of the Beijing Financial Group, but also because of his outstanding talent. He had studied in the United States and had 2 master's degrees. After returning to China, he was appointed to take over the Beijing Financial Group, which was in danger due to the insider door incident. It only took him 2 years to restore the reputation of the Beijing Financial Group and re-solidify the Beijing Financial Group's position in the industry. Plus, Yu Sunghyun was young and handsome, so many Koreans, especially Korean girls, viewed him as an idol. Lu Qin had seen news about Yu Sunghyun on the internet. He didn't think that the third prince of the Beijing Financial Group would personally come to Beijing to find him. He couldn't help but sigh at the magic of love. Lu Chen's gaze couldn't help but fall on the woman sitting to the left of Yu Sunghyun. Song Jiajun, 25 years old, was the host of the KBS television station's New Star show. This Korean female host wasn't very beautiful. She had an oval face and willow eyebrows. Her eyes were quite big, and her short hair made her look pure and refreshing. It was very different from the standard plastic surgery face in Korea's entertainment industry. Her voice was very pleasant to hear, and she could speak fluent Chinese. Song Jiajun was Yu Sunghyun's lover. However, Song Jiajun's family background was ordinary, so it was completely different from Yu Sunghyun. It was said that Yu Sunghyun took the initiative to pursue Song Jiajun. With Lu Qingxian's family background, character, and appearance, there were plenty of girls who were more beautiful and outstanding than Song Jiajun who pursued him. However, he fell in love with Song Jiajun at first sight. It was said that he had pursued her for several years and had just established their relationship not long ago. Therefore, in Korea, the evaluation of their relationship was Cinderella's love. Mr. Lu Chen, Jiajun and I are both your fans, Lu Qingxian slowly said in choppy Chinese. She really hopes, to invite you to participate in new celebrity show. Please consider it. Just now, both sides had been formally introduced. On Lu Chen's side were him, Chen Fei, and Lu Shi. On Lu Qingxian's side, there were also 3 people. In addition to Song Jiajun, there was also an assistant. Lu Qingxian's arrival was very low-key and sudden. It was a completely private meeting. The Dying Consortium's third prince's Chinese wasn't fluent. It was obviously a little difficult for him to express the complete meaning, but his words were full of sincerity. In fact, when he received a call from Lu Shi yesterday, Lu Qin knew the purpose of these two's visit. As early as 2 weeks ago, Korea's KBS TV station contacted Chinfei Media and invited Lu Qin to participate in the new celebrity show, but Lu Qin declined. Because of this, Lu Qin understood some of the story behind this invitation. Originally, Lu Qin thought that this matter would be over if he refused. He didn't expect that Lu Qingxian would actually bring Song Jiajun to invite him, which really surprised him. Lu Qin couldn't help but say, "Mr. Lu Qingxian, you are really..." He paused and didn't know what to say. Was he saying that Lu Qingxian was too exaggerated? Or was he too stubborn? With the Beijing Financial Group's influence in KBS, it would be a piece of cake for Lu Qingxian to invite any Korean celebrity. There was no need for him to personally make an appearance. As long as KBS sent a word over, which Korean celebrity would dare to reject? Of course, Lu Qin could ignore KBS, but with Lu Qingxian's status, he had his own dignity and face. Logically speaking, after being rejected once, even if it was indirectly, he shouldn't have taken the initiative to come to him again. After all, this wasn't a matter of life and death for the Dying Consortium. It could be said that if the Korean media found out about what Lu Qingxian was doing now and reported it, it would be very embarrassing for both him and the Dying Consortium. The pride of the Koreans is very strong. Lu Qingxian clearly knew what Lu Qin wanted to express. He smiled and held Song Jiajun's hand. His eyes were full of gentleness as he looked at her. "Mr. Lu Qin," He asked Lu Chen, if you were me, and Jiazhen was. Miss Chen Fei, I think you would understand. Song Jiazhen's face suddenly turned red, which made her look even more charming. Lu Chen was stunned for a moment and couldn't help but laugh. Because of love. If he was Lu Qingxian, would he be willing to put down his pride and ask someone to come to his door for the sake of the person he loved? Lu Chen's answer is that there is no need to think too much. Chen Fei, whose name was called, also smiled. She looked at Lu Qingxian with admiration. Chen Fei, wasn't interested in Lu Qingxian's identity as the dying consortium's successor, but his infatuation with Song Jiazhen moved her. She couldn't help but have a good impression of him. Chen Fei, lightly kicked Lu Chen's leg. Lu Chen didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Okay, Mr. Lu Qingxian, you've convinced me. I think I should be able to free up my schedule next month to participate in Song Jiazhen's show. Lu Qingxian immediately revealed a look of surprise. He stood up excitedly and bowed to Lu Chen. Thank you. Lu Chen quickly stood up and bowed back. You're too kind. He extended his hand to Lu Qingxian. Lu Qingxian shook hands with him and the two looked at each other and smiled. Chen Fei, suddenly said, Miss Jiazhen, are you willing to add me? Ha! Song Jiazhen exclaimed softly. She seemed to be in disbelief. Really? When she got an affirmative answer from Chen Fei, she immediately cheered like a little girl. That's great. In South Korea today, the most influential Chinese celebrity was undoubtedly Lu Chen, followed by Chen Fei. One, Autumn in My Heart, one, Full House of Romance, and the other, You from the Star, which was currently sweeping the South Korean screen. The popularity of the two had even surpassed most of the A-list celebrities in South Korea. Being able to invite Lu Chen was already a victory. Inviting Chen Fei, at the same time was simply a guarantee of ratings. Most importantly, Song Jiazhen was not only a fan of Lu Chen, but also a fan of Chen Fei. For her, there was nothing happier than this. Chapter 755. With a brisk pace, Tong Xinyao walked into the headquarters of Chinfei Media like the wind. The front desk lady immediately showed a big smile and greeted enthusiastically, Miss Tong, good morning. After a pause, she added, I wish the album a hit. Thank you. Tong Xinyao returned a kind smile to the other party and kept walking to the stairs. Good morning, Miss Tong. Hello, Miss Tong. Xinyao, I wish your album a hit. Along the way, the company's employees and managers all greeted Tong Xinyao with a smile and sent sincere blessings. Tong Xinyao was one of the few signed artists under Chinfei Media, and she was the youngest and most beautiful. She had a good personality, so no one in the company didn't like her. Most importantly, as a newcomer promoted by Chinfei Media, she was supported by two top stars, Lu Chen and Chen Fei. Everyone in and out of the circle had to look up to her. Her future as a star could be said to be broad. Tong Xinyao responded all the way, and her face was sore from smiling. Until she entered the studio, she breathed a big sigh of relief. Sitting in the chair, she touched her chest, and her heart was pounding. Today, Tong Xinyao's mood was more excited than she looked on the surface, and she was worried about gains and losses. Because today was the day when her debut album, Original Dream, was officially released on the market. As a newcomer who had just stepped into the pop music world, her mood was completely understandable. Xinyao. A woman in her 30s followed Tong Xinyao and came into the room. This 20-square-meter room was specially assigned to Tong Xinyao by the company for both work and rest. Although the area was not large, it was equipped with a desk, computer, sofa, TV, and so on. The decoration was also quite elegant. As a newcomer, such treatment was enough to make Tong Xiniao's peers envious and jealous. The shrewd woman wearing a beige dress uniform, glasses, and a shrewd face was Tong Xiniao's assistant, Min Li. She closed the door and said, "Why did you run so fast? I couldn't catch up with you. If you accidentally fell and hurt your face, how could you go out for publicity?" She had a look of exasperation. Tong Xiniao stuck out her tongue and said, "Sisterly, I know I was wrong." Min Li shook her head helplessly. She had entered the entertainment industry at the age of 20 and had been in the industry for 15 years. She had worked with 5 or 6 artists, both newcomers and stars. There were even more temporary replacements. However, it was the first time for Min Li to take care of such a pure and innocent girl like Tong Xiniao. Qinfei Media had been active since this year. Not only had they signed a few newcomers in a band, but they had also been recruiting to expand their strength. Min Li was one of the agents who joined Qinfei Media through a headhunting company. What attracted Min Li was, of course, the 2 founders of Qinfei Media. As someone in the industry, she knew how powerful Lu Qin was, so she gave up another job with a higher salary without hesitation and chose this new company that had been established for less than a year. For Min Li, the most ideal position was to be an assistant to either Lu Qin or Qinfei. She had the qualifications, but unexpectedly, the company arranged for her to be with Tong Xiniao. To be honest, it was impossible for Min Li not to have any thoughts at that time. She had originally come for the 2 big names, but in the end, she had to take care of a newcomer. Not only was it tiring, but she also did not have the glory of following a big name. Tong Xiniao was indeed a newcomer. She had made her debut halfway through. Before joining China's Voice, she had not gone through any professional training, and she was not the champion of China's Voice. Tong Xiniao was able to sign with Qinfei Media mainly because of the conflict between the champion, Anxin, and Qinfei Media. She only got the contract because of luck. Although Lu Qin had the reputation of a gold touch and star-making machine in the industry, it was hard to say how much effort he would put into promoting Tong Xiniao. Not everyone in the industry was optimistic about him. In addition, from the perspective of artist training, compared to the endless number of newcomers in the entertainment industry, Tong Xiniao lacked personality highlights and recognition, which made it difficult to promote her. It was still unknown whether Qinfei Media was willing to put in a lot of effort on Tong Xiniao. In the industry, there were many artists who were promoted by the company but were still not famous. Most of them had the same problem as Tong Xiniao. Most importantly, Qinfei Media was a company that closely revolved around the 2 big names, Lu Qin and Qinfei. Last month, at a gathering of friends in the industry, Min Li was ridiculed by someone in the industry whom she had known for many years. She, Min Li, had been in the industry for so many years, why was she regressing? Min Li knew very well that the other party was probably jealous. Although Qinfei Media was not big, its strength was top-notch. With 2 pillars supporting it, its future was limitless. However, the other party's ridicule was not completely unreasonable. It more or less poked at her weak spot. Therefore, Min Li held back in her heart and spared no effort to teach Tong Xiniao. Sometimes, it was even to the extent of being strict. However, after getting along for a period of time, Min Li began to really like this beautiful, well-behaved, and sensible girl. She also understood the company's intention of arranging herself to Tong Xiniao. It was to use her strength and experience to shelter this delicate flower from the wind and rain. Sisterly, sisterly. Seeing Min Li's distracted look, Tong Xiniao became more and more uneasy. She asked cautiously, "Are you okay? I really know that I was wrong." Min Li suddenly woke up and laughed, "It's okay. You didn't make any big mistakes. Be careful in the future." She looked at the beautiful girl in front of her and secretly envied the other's good luck. It was needless to say that Tong Xinyao signed with Chenfei Media. Everyone said that Tong Xinyao was lucky, sitting at home and picking up a big pie that fell from the sky. As for the company, or more accurately, Lu Chen and Chenfei, or his nurturing of Tong Xinyao, she had seen it all. Tong Xinyao released her debut album today. How long has it been since she participated in China's Voice? It could be said that out of 10,000 newcomers in the entertainment industry, there might not even be one as lucky as her. If this album sold well, it did not even need to sell well. As long as it sold well, the title of a rising star in the music industry would definitely be hers. At that time, with a few more newcomer awards, she would be sprinting towards the A-list or B-list. Could My First Dream be successful? If it was any other newcomer's debut album, Minli would not be confident. However, Lu Chen personally wrote the title song. There was no precedent of failure. What a lucky girl. Min Li's eyes became softer, as if the girl in front of her was shining all over. It was like shining stars. Chapter 756. Fuzhou City, Academy Road. Today was a Saturday, and the weather in Fuzhou City was exceptionally sunny. The sun shone brightly, and the temperature was just right. Thus, the business district around the college road was especially lively. Students from the surrounding universities were all out to shop, have fun, and go on dates. Xinhua Book City, which was located in a prime location on Academy Road, was even more crowded. Every weekend, many students would come here to buy teaching materials and tutorials, or to read new books that had just been published. Usually, there would be authors signing books on the second floor of the Book City on weekends. In the internet era, the business model of Xinhua Bookstore has also changed a lot. In addition to selling books, it has also carried out a variety of businesses. The renovated bookstore has a coffee shop, a milk tea ice cream shop, and a variety of audiovisual equipment and even toys. In the past, cassette players, MP3 players, original cassettes, CDs, DVDs, and so on were the best-selling products in bookstores. But now, there were very few people who bought CDs. Everyone was used to buying and downloading digital music on the internet. Therefore, the scale of the display cabinet selling these goods has shrunk big and retreated to the corner, but it has not disappeared, because most of the singers who release albums often use the channels of Xinhua Bookstore to sell physical CDs and peripheral products. The cassette players of the past had now been replaced by USB drives, CD sets, dolls, figurines, and so on. There were also large celebrity posters. The Original Dream, Tong Xinyao's first album, grandly released. Today, the promotional theme of the Xinhua Bookstore's video and entertainment exhibition area in Fuzhou City's Academy Road was clearly expressed through the color-printed posters, colorful spray-on banners, posters, and so on hanging high above the counters. However, many people were unfamiliar with the name Tong Xinyao and didn't have much interest in her, but many students recognized the girl with a bright smile on the poster. Tong Xinyao, I think she's the runner-up of China's Sing. Yes, I've seen her performance. It's not bad. Wow! Is she releasing a new album now? While people were talking, the big screen TV hanging on the wall of the exhibition area switched, and a beautiful melody poured out from the hi-fi speakers. If Pride hadn't been coldly slapped by the sea of reality, how would he know how hard he had to work? Only then could he walk far away. If dreams never fell off a cliff, it was a close call. How would he know a persistent person, it has invisible wings? Plant your tears in your heart, will blossom brave flowers. When you are tired, close your eyes and smell a fragrance. On the TV, a young girl was running along a path full of flowers. She had a ponytail, and her face and forehead were covered in sparkling sweat. Although she was tired, her eyes were bright and full of determination. She ran against the wind, accompanied by the singing. The picturesque Mediterranean Sea appeared in front of her, and there were many Greek stone houses standing by the sea. His first dream. The refreshing and energetic singing quickly spread throughout the bookstore. The music video appeared on all the TV screens, attracting the attention of the men and women who were in the bookstore. Today, the customers who visited Xinhua bookstore were mainly students. Many of them were young people in their 20s. It was the first time for them to hear this song that expressed their feelings and was full of inspirational spirit. My first dream is held tightly in my hands. The place he wanted to go the most. How could they turn back halfway? His initial dream would definitely come true. True desire fulfilled, only then would he be able to calculate that he had passed through heaven. The song was telling people that no matter what difficulties and setbacks they encountered, as long as they stick to their original dream and recall the efforts they made to realize their dreams, they would never give up easily. Only by working hard to stick to their dreams can they achieve it one day. Youth was flying, and it was the time when people had the most dreams. This song undoubtedly touched the hearts of young boys and girls. The impassioned melody and spirited lyrics undoubtedly deeply moved them. Unknowingly, the audiovisual entertainment exhibition area on the second floor of Xinhua bookstore was surrounded by many customers. On the large poster, Tang Xinyao smiled at everyone, full of sunshine and confidence. On December 16, Tang Xinyao's debut solo album, Original Dream, signed by Qin Fei Media's artist, was released in Xinhua bookstores all over the country, and a digital version was simultaneously sold on QQ Music. As early as last month, the album was launched on the online crowdfunding website. Because it was personally produced by Lu Chen, the results of the crowdfunding pre-sale were quite good, and it ranked among the best among the new singers who debuted this year. Compared with the crowdfunding pre-sale, the online and offline sales results in the next 3 days were the key to determining the future fate of this album. Qin Fei Media has also made careful preparations for this. Unlike many well-known entertainment record companies in the industry, before the album was released, Qin Fei Media did not carry out large-scale high-intensity promotion and publicity for Tang Xinyao, or hire professional public relations companies to hype. This made people feel that Qin Fei Media didn't seem to attach much importance to Tang Xinyao and was unwilling to spend a lot of effort on marketing. There was even a rumor in the circle that Qin Fei didn't want a newcomer who could threaten her position in the company, so she wouldn't invest too much in Tang Xinyao and wanted to suppress Tang Xinyao. This kind of rumor was quite popular, and even some unscrupulous media used obscure writing techniques to expose it. But both Tang Xinyao herself and the employees of Qin Fei Media knew that this kind of rumor was completely nonsense. It was true that the company didn't vigorously promote it, but the investment in this album was not small at all. In the album, the music videos of several songs, including the title song, Original Dream, were shot in Crete, Greece, a world-famous tourist destination. This investment alone cost millions. There was no wantonly hype, but the production was not ambiguous at all. Moreover, the investment in a sales terminal like Xinhua Book City was not cheap. It could be said that good steel was used on the edge of the blade. On December 17, the 24-hour sales results of Original Dream were released, including a total of 37,560 sets of CD records and commemorative sets, and QQ Music sold 51,350 copies. This result immediately caused a lot of sensation in the industry. Because the sales of the previous physical album were crowdfunded first, there was nothing to make a fuss about, but the sales of the digital album exceeded 50,000 copies, which surprised people. It should be known that a few years ago, Lu Chen's debut album, You Who Sat Next to Me, only sold more than 60,000 copies in 24 hours on QQ Music. People seem to see a rising star in the music industry. Note, Original Dream lyricist, Ya Ruolong/composer, Miyuki Nakajima. Chapter 757. On December 18, First Dream sold 77,958 copies in QQ Music. By the 19th, the daily sales figure increased to 94,560 copies. Without counting the sales of CD records, the album's online sales have reached 220,000 plus. There is a so-called 72-hour law in online record sales, that is, the sales volume in the first 7 days on the shelf must account for at least 40 to 50% of the total sales, of which the first 3 days are the most critical. How well an album sells, whether it is a flop, a qualified or a big seller, can basically be seen within 72 hours. As a newcomer in the pop music industry, Tang Xinyao's debut album has sold more than 200,000 units in 3 days. The honor of platinum record has been firmly in her hands, and it is not a dream to hit the double platinum, diamond record. Such a result is enough to be comparable to many A-list singers. With the explosion of sales, the market reputation of First Dream is also constantly fermenting. The title song of the same name quickly appeared on various pop music lists, and is expected to occupy a high position on the original music chart released at the weekend. Not only the title song, but also the other 2 works by Lu Qin for this album, We Are All Good Children, and 10,000 Can't Bear to Part, have all received a warm response. Especially among the age group between 15 and 25, the number of fans who like Tang Xinyiao has skyrocketed at an exponential rate. Because in the past year, neither Lu Qin nor Qin Fei has released a new album and focused their career on film and television, Tang Xinyiao's album has also met the needs of fans to a large extent. In particular, Lu Qin's fans, because First Dream has 3 works by Lu Qin, they gave unconditional support and contributed to a large proportion of sales. A sweet and pure external image, a fresh and moving singing style, and a song melody that catered to young people, made the beautiful girl who came out of The Voice of China become a real star overnight. Her Waves blog fans quickly broke through the 1 million mark, and the growth was staggering. At the same time, various commercial performances and advertising invitations also flew to Qin Fei media like snowflakes. All of these made the people in the circle have to marvel again. Of course, what they admired was not Tang Xinyiao, but the giant standing behind her, Lu Qin. Lu Qin once again demonstrated the magical magic of gold touch in the music industry and star-making machine. In his hands, it was so easy to make a newcomer famous. There was no need for painstaking hype at all. With a wave of his hand, he cultivated a cash cow. His talent had already become a legend. In today's market, once a star singer with a good image and temperament like Tang Xinyiao becomes popular, she can create a rolling source of money for the contracting company, especially in the 2 major areas of commercial performances and advertisements. It is not an exaggeration to say that she is making a lot of money every day. However, Qin Fei Media did not regard Tang Xinyiao as a cash cow. The company declined most commercial performances and advertising endorsements for her. Instead, they spent more money to arrange for Tang Xinyiao to carry out nationwide publicity activities. This showed that Qin Fei Media did not value immediate interests. What they had developed for Tang Xinyiao was a long-term development plan. They first laid a solid foundation, and did not care whether she made money or not. This also dispelled the rumors in the circle. It was a joke that Qin Fei intended to suppress newcomers and not let Tang Xinyiao get too much limelight. In today's circle, it was really difficult to find many companies like Qin Fei Media that were not eager for quick success and profits, and were really willing to consider signing artists. Do you know how many people in the circle are jealous of you now? Min Li whispered to Tang Xinyiao in private, so you must be careful during this time, listen to the company's arrangements, and work hard to promote the album. Don't worry about other things. Especially the blog, there is the most gossip. Whatever blog you post, you must let me see it first. Min Li's worries were very reasonable. In the past, many newcomers became arrogant and carried themselves away when they just became popular. As a result, they were accidentally caught by others, so their career was bleak. There was a lot of gossip when one became popular. Min Li did not want Tong Xinyao to make mistakes. "Sisterly, I know." Tong Xinyao stuck out her little tongue and said, "I'll listen to you." Min Li smiled and said, "It's good that you know. To be honest, I've been in the circle for so long, and I really haven't met a better boss than Lu Qin and Qin Fei. You must know how to be grateful and cherish, don't be like an Xan." She shook her head and did not continue. Compared with the current glory of Tong Xinyao, an Xan, the champion of the Voice of China, was really far behind. Although the latter also signed a contract with a record company, except for a few commercial performances and announcements, she did not come up with any decent works, and almost disappeared from the entertainment media. Because of Tong Xinyao, Min Li, who was both an agent and a work assistant, was now also very popular in the circle. There were many people who were willing to make friends with her, so she was more well-informed than before. Tong Xinyao thought for a moment and said, "Sisterly, do you think I should invite Mr. Lu and Mr. Chen to dinner tonight to thank the two teachers? I'm going to Huhai to promote tomorrow." Min Li was pleased and said, "It's good that you have this idea. Then you go and ask yourself, is Boss Lu in the office?" Lu Chen was the legal representative of Qinfei Media and also the director of art, film, television and music, so the employees in the company respectfully called him Mr. Lu, and some directly called him Boss Lu. Min Li was gratified that the girl she took care of had become sensible. Although neither Lu Qin nor Qin Fei would care about a meal, the important thing was that Tong Xinyao understood the truth of being grateful, so she would not easily be arrogant. In the past, she had been in charge of a newcomer who did not know the immensity of heaven and earth. It was really worrying about the newcomer, but it was not good. "Yes." Tong Xinyao nodded and said, "Mr. Lu seems to be being interviewed. I'll go and ask." Lu Qin was being interviewed, and the interviewer was very influential. It was a reporter from People's Music. People's Music was founded in the early days of the founding of the People's Republic. It was sponsored by the China Musicians Association. At the beginning, the content was divided into two parts, review articles and song works. Later, it mainly focused on music reviews. It was a comprehensive music magazine that included theoretical research, mass music work, introduction of foreign music, music knowledge and music activities, reports, etc. As an official mainstream music magazine, People's Music had a very high status in the music industry. It dominated the research and review of serious, traditional, classical, traditional and ethnic music. It rarely involved pop music. The interviewees were basically musicians, music experts and scholars, etc. So when he received the interview notice from People's Music, Lu Qin himself was very surprised. Chapter 758. Not long ago, Lu Qin had just appeared on the cover of Time magazine in the United States. With his current identity and influence, he was fully qualified to appear in any domestic newspaper or magazine. In fact, during this period of time, Qinfei Media had received countless interview requests from various major media, but People's Music was different. It represented the official orthodox mainstream, and would never chase stars like ordinary media. The reason why Lu Qin was able to attract the attention of People's Music was because at the end of last month, he wrote and sang The Pearl of the Orient for the celebration party of Hong Kong's return. This song, sung by Lu Qin, Qin Fei, Lu Gangxing and Shi Fang, had been widely sung and had a very profound and huge influence. The spiritual connotation and ideas contained in The Pearl of the Orient had actually transcended the field of pop music. Its melody and lyrics resonated with tens of millions of people in Hong Kong. The day after the celebration party, Hong Kong's satellite TV conducted random interviews on the streets of Hong Kong. As a result, everyone who watched the party, except for foreign tourists, was full of praise for this song. It was said that the Hong Kong Special District Government intended to set The Pearl of the Orient as a patriotic song of love for Hong Kong and be included in the music textbooks for primary and secondary school students. Therefore, the positive impact brought about by The Pearl of the Orient could not be ignored by People's Music, so they sent a senior reporter to interview Lu Qin. In fact, although Lu Qin had created extraordinary achievements in the field of pop music, he also had works with themes, such as I Love You China, Beautiful Grassland My Home, and so on. Naturally, there were topics in the mainstream. I think pop music, traditional music and theme music have never been opposed. In fact, a lot of pop music refers to the essence of national music. In front of Tan Ling, the reporter sent by People's Music, Lu Qin spoke with confidence and assurance. Theme works can also combine bel canto, popular, and ethnic singing into one. Only the careful interpretation of the song's connotation can definitely make the audience love it. The theme of the interview with Lu Qin by People's Music was very big, involving all aspects of current domestic pop music, traditional music, and theme music. A few years ago, domestic pop music could be said to be vain and impetuous. There were fewer and fewer original works. The phenomenon of plagiarism and imitation was very serious. Music from Europe, America, Japan, and South Korea flooded the market. Lu Qin has emerged in the Chinese pop music world, which can be said to have changed the situation to a great extent. First of all, the folk song style he brought has injected a clear stream into the music world and greatly enhanced the status of original works. Over the years, Lu Qin has been leading Chinese pop music on a healthy and positive path. Inspired by his success, a number of outstanding writers and singers have emerged. Therefore, on this issue, Lu Qin was fully qualified to speak. Compared to pop music, the situation of mainstream music and traditional music was even worse and even more awkward. Young people who grew up in the new era did not like them, and not many people were willing to listen to them. As a result, the latter two could only rely on the power of the government to maintain their existence. The issue between pop music, theme music, and traditional music has long been one of the focuses of debate among musicians and music critics. Some people are extreme that it is the impact of a large number of monotonous pop music that purely pursues auditory pleasure on the market, which is an important reason for the decline of theme music and traditional music. Combined with the situation a few years ago, this argument is really not without reason. And Lu Qin is one of the few singers in China who has crossed the two fields, and he has achieved great success. On this big issue, his answer is absolutely impeccable. Lu Qin does not deny the problem of pop music, nor does he avoid the dilemma faced by theme music and traditional music. However, he does not criticize them severely like many people, but puts forward his own ideas and solutions. With examples such as I Love You China and Pearl of the Orient, Lu Qin's answer is naturally very convincing. Even Tan Ling, who has interviewed many famous musicians and well-known scholars, can't help but secretly marvel. Before Lu Qin accepted Tan Ling's interview, he did not know her interview questions, so it was impossible for anyone to prepare an answer for Lu Qin in advance. His answer was obviously the result of careful consideration. This made Tan Ling appreciate the young man in front of her more and more. She said with a smile, "Thank you. Let's take a break first. Let me think about a few more questions." Lu Qin smiled and said, "Okay." After a pause, he asked reporter Tan, "How is Big Brother Tan recently?" This question was very abrupt, but Tan Ling smiled and said, "He can't be better now. He drinks tea and chats with his friends every day, and occasionally goes fishing. He is really enjoying life." Lu Qin sighed, "I'm very envious." "Don't," Tan Ling said with a smile, "he is retired. Your life has just begun. If you really retire, how many fans will be disappointed?" The two of them were talking about Tan Hong. Tan Ling was Tan Hong's sister, but not his biological sister, but his cousin. At first, Lu Chen didn't know it. It was Tan Ling who revealed it herself. Tan Hong and Lu Chen were teachers and friends. The friendship between the two was well known. With this relationship, the interview didn't seem so serious, and it was a lot more relaxed and pleasant. While they were talking and laughing, the door of the room was knocked gently. Lu Chen turned his head and said, "Come in." The door opened and Tong Xiniao poked her head in. When she saw Lu Chen and Tan Ling sitting and talking, she couldn't help but shrink her head. She wanted to say something but didn't dare to. Lu Chen asked doubtfully, "Xiniao, why are you here? Come in and talk." Tong Xiniao's pretty face turned red. She nodded quickly and walked in obediently. "Teacher Lu," Lu Chen introduced to Tan Ling, "this is Tong Xiniao, a newcomer signed by our company. This is reporter Tan." Tong Xiniao politely bowed to Tan Ling and said, "Hello, Teacher Tan." Tan Ling got up and shook hands with her. She said with a smile, "Miss Tong is so beautiful. You are more beautiful than in the photo. My daughter is your fan." "Aw." Tong Xiniao couldn't believe it. She said with a smile, "That's really my honor." Lu Chen asked, "Xiniao, what can I do for you?" Tong Xiniao quickly said, "Teacher Lu, I'm going to Huhai for publicity tomorrow, so I want to invite you and Sister Fei to dinner in the evening. I don't know if you have time." "In the evening?" Lu Chen said with a smile, "I want to invite reporter Tan to dinner, so you can pay the bill." Tong Xiniao was surprised. "That's great. You're tuning in to the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.